But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. All right, good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. This is the show where we get together and do this live. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And what is the show is about, you may ask? Well, this is the show where we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. And you know what those things are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. Now, of course, we do this live to include you, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And tonight, interestingly, oddly, there's some news. There's always news, right? You guys know me. I have a pretty good idea about what's going on in the news cycles. That's what I do. I kind of look at these things. I consider what's real, what's not in this post-truth world. And this one's a doozy. This is one of those ones where the more you think about it, the more you're perplexed. Because, like everything else, right, in a post-truth era, the answer is not as easy as it seems. And not only that, no matter who you ask, you get a different answer. And therein, of course, lies the conspiracy, which we'll get to tonight. There's a lot of conspiracy to talk about with this topic here, which we'll get to in a sec. But before we do all that, like I said, this show, I want to make sure that we understand where this is coming from and what this show is all about. And it's all those things I said, except it's a conversation. Less of a show, less of a presentation. This isn't a church by any means. This is just the question show, all right? This is not the answer show. This is not where we get together and say, we knew it. This is the answer to the secrets of the universe. Nah, come on. There's so many shows out there, so many talk shows, so many different YouTube channels, all the rest of this that end up giving you the answer, right? Well, of course, they're giving you the answer they think is the best answer. All right, that's the way this works. Does it mean it's the real answer? Of course not. Of course not, because you can track down the opposite just as easily. All right, cited by evidence and science and all of the things, right? Trust the science, follow the evidence, right? If you don't, you're some sort of denier or a terrorist, or worse, you're a conspiracy theorist. You're a dirty conspiracy theorist. So as this is the worst part of it, right? So as most of you know, I do a news show on Monday and Friday at 3 p.m. It's only on Twitch, and then the next day or two it gets cut up and put to a podcast on the podcast feed, all right? And I cannot avoid all of the craziness that's happening in these news cycles. I just can't. It's like how do we take this stuff seriously when the headlines and the information they give us and just the way things are just spun ridiculously? How are we supposed to take any of this seriously? You know, like again, I'm gonna do my best to keep my toes out of politics like we do, because it's basically a what would you call it? An exercise in futility. Not all the time. Let's say many times. I won't even say, I'm going to be generous, and I won't even say most times. Let's say many times when you kind of drag the conversation down to the political level, it ends up, well, kind of in the mud, okay? And, of course, that's where we get the mudslinging and all the rest of this stuff. So anyway, it's my long-winded way of saying that, well, some of these conversations aren't exactly as they seem, and you'll see. So hang tight. We'll get to that in just a minute. But if you want to be part of the show, my whole point for all that little rant there was it doesn't really matter what the truth is, in my opinion. I think the truth is probably more subjective than ever. If you ask an engineer or somebody, they're going to completely disagree with me. But, well, you can follow the science and track down the exact opposite, right? It just depends on which conspiracy you're kind of chasing down. So if you want to be part of this show at any point tonight, we have an open line. Several open lines, as a matter of fact, and that's what we do on the show. We have a conversation with you. And as you know, I have absolutely no insiders. I don't have any Galactic Federation ambassadors that feed me information about climate change or anything else for that matter. I'm just trying to figure it out, just like you. Looking at news cycles, reading the news, reading scientific papers, trying to figure out who's funding what, and how come everything seems to be so damn complicated anymore. So if you want to be part of the show, and I'd love to have your take on this tonight, because this one ranges far and wide. You want to talk about conspiracy? Holy moly. This is all over the place. But here we go. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll put you on the show. You could actually join the Discord as well at troubledminds.org and also at fringe.fm/chat. Two different actual things going on here with the Discords. Discord's a free chat client, voice client. It's amazing. It's a great program, and there's lots of amazing people that are already there, and that's the way it goes. So actually, which I didn't actually send out the little thing. Let me do that real quick. There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, a lot of things in motion here. Let's see. There we go. All right. So anyway, 702-957-1037, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. And all right, there we go. All right, so tonight, now again, like I said, I do a news show, and so I watch the news cycles very closely because I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on out there, right? And not necessarily like, ha-ha, I got you. This is the truth. No, more like, all right, this is what they're doing. This is why they're talking about it. And this is why everything is sort of a slippery fish, why truth is that slippery fish, okay? What's up? I got a Discord for you just a second. Punkylicious, I'm reading the chat out there. I'll drop it in just a sec. Troubledminds.org is the official website. There's a Discord link, but I'll get it for you in a sec. But okay, so I'm rolling through the news cycles, right? And doing my thing and hanging out, just kind of trying to be critical of what's going on as always, right? Find some interesting things, find some fun things, find some propaganda, right? And the actual thing tonight is it's weird. It's an actual propaganda fest, all right, is what this is. So let me explain. No, too much to explain. Let me sum up. All right, here we go. There is a Discord link. You got it right there in the chat. All right. So now this is the thing. I came across this article, and try not to laugh. Try not to laugh. All right. But this is where we're at. This is from thehill.com. And yeah, so the headline reads this: Canadian woman becomes first person diagnosed as suffering from, quote, climate change. All right? Climate change. Okay. Now, all right. Now, what exactly does that mean? Right? And therein lies the conspiracy. How does somebody get diagnosed by a doctor as suffering from climate change? All right, there we go. This is where this begins, and I'm telling you, you can't even make this stuff up. All right, now I'm going to just read part of this article, and you're okay. Here we go. This is where this starts. It starts like this. Okay, a Canadian woman could be the first patient to be diagnosed as suffering from climate change after doctors said heat waves and poor air quality brought on acute breathing problems. All right. Kyle Merritt, an emergency room doctor in Nelson, British Columbia, who is responsible for the diagnosis, told Glacier Media that it was the first time in a decade he had determined a patient's cause of suffering to be climate change. All right. Now, like I said, you can't make this stuff up. All right, now listen. Now you may say, oh, he's one of those climate deniers and all the rest of this. Hold on. Listen to this. Just listen to this. Quote, if we're not looking at the underlying cause and we're just treating the symptoms, we're just going to keep falling further and further behind, he said. Now, does this sound like a politician or a doctor to you? I'm just curious, asking for a friend. But okay, here we go. One more time, the headline. Canadian woman becomes first person diagnosed as suffering from climate change. All right. So here's the reasoning the doctor had. Let's read just a little bit more of this. Merritt added about the patient, who is in her 70s, was diagnosed in the summer shortly after a heat wave in June sent temperatures soaring past 121 degrees Fahrenheit. All right. Record-breaking heat in Canada this summer is believed to have killed more than 500 people in British Columbia alone, according to coroner reports. And wildfires caused the air quality in the province to become 43 times worse than levels deemed acceptably safe through July and August. All right. Okay. Quote. Now this is where this gets good. And I'm not making fun of anybody who has actual medical conditions. Don't get me wrong here, okay? So, but listen to this. The doctor continues, quote, she has diabetes. She has some heart failure. She lives in a trailer, no air conditioning. Merritt said of the patient, all of her health problems have been worsened, and she's really struggling to stay hydrated. Okay? And so there you go. There's the basis of somebody suffering. The first diagnosis, suffering from climate change. Okay? Now, again, don't get me wrong. I'm not that guy. Clearly, I always say this, 8 billion people plus on the planet. We're clearly changing the way the earth works. Just as sort of in that parasite infestation style. Clearly, the landfills, the plastic in the water, the climate itself, all the stuff, okay? But hold on, though. How much of that is actually true? And I'm not going to go through and, peel through some science and all the... I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Because guess what? From what I can tell, they're all cooking the books. All right? They're all cooking the books. Because they're in the bag for what? Big oil. They're in the bag for climate change. Turning over the entire energy grid. There's conspiracies on both sides here. All right? Just speaking politically. And I promise you, I'm not going to tell you to vote for anybody tonight. I don't care. Vote for whoever you want, believe whatever you want. But I'm asking you the question. As we begin this discussion tonight, here are some questions that are on my mind, okay? Regarding this in particular. It seems ridiculous. Ridiculous, okay? Again, a woman in her 70s, it's a hot summer, and she's diagnosed as suffering from climate change. So what exactly do you do as the doctor? Do you give the planet a pill to change? Do you say vote for this guy or that gal? Or what do you do if you're the doctor? Anyway, I digress a little bit. But the point of this is this. Wherein, with all of this climate hysteria, where lies the conspiracy? Okay? Now let's get back to the conspiracy. Okay? Let's get back to the conspiracy. Meaning that for years, there's been this conspiracy of what? Of chemtrails, right? of geoengineering, of putting particulates in the sky, silver sulfide, to cool down the earth, right? Aluminum, whatever. That's one of the conspiracies, all right? So is that just nuts? Is that just crazy conspiracy theorists off the rails trying to make something up about, a government that could give a damn about us? Is that what's going on here? I don't know, right? But this is the thing that gets my goat about this and why I'm talking about this tonight, because this is not so cut and dry as propaganda or fake news or any of the rest of that, right? Sure, fine. It's easy to say that just at face value, but what about the rest of this? And I do get a little agitated because I see signs. I'm not kidding you. Look it up. Google this term. Search it. Sorry, DuckDuckGo this term because you want to do something where you're not getting tracked, all right? DuckDuckGo this term. You will die from old age. I will die from climate change, all right? Well, little kids are holding signs up that say this, right? They're going to die of climate change. All right, just look it up. All right. Again, probably all a bunch of hoopla propaganda. Fine. But there are conspiracies here, including weather control. Do you guys think, I'm going to put it like this. Do you think that any government in the whole world right now has the ability to control the weather? I'm going to ask that. Okay? That's where we start here. Do you think that's true? What about HARP, right? What about again, chemtrails. What about all of that? And then, of course, we're not even talking about big oil or the climate cabal, right, that is trying to turn over the energy sector and hand it over to the government. Literally, there's a conspiracy in every angle of this. Every single one, no matter what side you're facing. It's crazy. And so the point here is this. I saw this article and I was like, I hate to talk about this because I know, right, everybody's so entrenched. It's so hyper politicized. Everybody believes what they believe and nobody's willing to open up their mind and think and try and say, okay, so what's really going on with this? That's my question tonight. What do you think is really going on? Do you think there are governments of the world out there, actual governments, or let's say even breakaway civilization types, to go Alex Jones for a minute? We talk about having, a breakaway civilization possibly having a UFO, right? Or some sort of, anti-gravity mechanism, all right? That's what kind of show this is. We're drinking the maybe juice, and we're talking about all the things, all right? But what about this? Wherein lies the conspiracy with all the climate stuff? Where is the conspiracy? Are there multiple layers of conspiracies? Again, are actual governments of the world controlling the weather? Do you think that's real? Do you think it's just a fabricated story? All right. How about again, big oil? What about the climate cabal? What about politics? What about all of this? What's the truth? Is there even a truth here? And the thing that pisses me off the most about all of this is the headlines. The headlines and the climate alarmism, it's all we have to do something yesterday. Because if we don't, we're all gonna die. And I'm like, wait, what? And then I see this, right? Usually it's kind of a little bit water off a duck's back with me. I'm like, whatever, these people okay, what? You vote for the thing and then what? And then the government gobbles up half the money in waste, fraud, and abuse. That sure fixed something, didn't it, right? There's one thing. Or you don't, and it's big oil on the other side. You tell me, where's the conspiracy here? Again, not to go political, but the questions on my mind tonight are this. Like I said, what do you believe? Are governments of the world actually controlling the weather? Is that a possible thing in this day and age? That's my question. And if so, here's your extra special conspiracy. If they can actually control the weather, then does that mean that they are actually causing the climate to change? You tell me. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot here. We can get into HARP. We can get into all kinds of things. We can get into geoengineering. We can get into chemtrails. Is any of this stuff real? Think about it. There's 20 conspiracies just in this one thing, depending on which angle you're looking from. It's all a big conspiracy, isn't it? So what does it mean? I'm interested and curious and hopeful to hear your take on this tonight, because I wonder I wonder, like with all the alarmism and all the BS and all the fake news and all the things we get, what do you think this really is about? Do you really think it's exactly like they say it is, and we're going to end up dead in, like, I don't know, what, 20 years or something? We're all going to be underwater in 20 years, right? I mean, this is the stuff we keep hearing over and over in these stupid news cycles, right? And like from the news cycles of 10 years ago, and 10 years before that, and 10 years before that. It's like, so what's real? What is even real anymore? Does anybody know? Does anybody know? I don't even know. And I think that's part of the issue, right? That part of the issue is the way these media news cycle things are trying to upend reality for everybody about everything. So you don't even know what's real. You don't know what to take seriously at all anymore. And this is what I'm asking. What are your thoughts on this? This Canadian woman becomes the first person diagnosed as suffering from climate change. All right? Sure, fine. Like I said, I know this isn't as hot as Portals and Lovecraftian old ones, but I think this is probably more pertinent to a real, actual reality than any of that other stuff. So you tell me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this from regular people, not people that have been redacted or edited or whatever by the media, have their, a full statement spun to a 3-word thing that matches the narrative. I wonder what you think. What is all this to do with the climate stuff? And like I said, just this alone, there's like 20 conspiracies, all packed into this one thing. But how much of those are fake, right? It can't all be real, can it? So I want to know. 702-957-1037. That's why we do this show. We get together and we talk about these things from person to person, from regular person to regular person. No media company is going to step in between your phone call and me and everybody who might be listening out there. Just want to know. How much do you think is real that we read in the media regarding climate, and how much do you think is conspiracy? And of course, conspiracy is everything, anything that's not real, which of course is exactly what we're talking about tonight. Wherein lies the conspiracy? Can you spot the climate conspiracy? And what is it? Curious to know. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Like I said, this isn't about voting for anybody or, supporting the government or supporting big oil, because that's what they're trying to say, right? They're trying to say one versus the other. None of that. Think in terms of weather control. Think in terms of HARP. Think in terms of geoengineering with chemtrails, which, by the way, are called stratospheric aerosol injections. There's an actual scientific name for that. Just think in those terms. And wherein lies the conspiracy? And are there multiple conspiracies? And how the heck are we supposed to tell the truth from any of it? Like I said, I think therein, to me, lies the largest conspiracy. That they don't want us to have any idea what the truth really is. Wouldn't it be easy to just tell them, have the media just tell us this is the real, the straight dope. This is it. But we can't have that. It doesn't even exist anymore. That doesn't even exist anymore. So, all right. So that's what we're doing tonight. That's what we're talking about. Like I said, there's a lot of conspiracy angles here, and that's what we're really on about. Spot the climate conspiracy. And which part is it? Where does it come from? And I'd love to hear from you. Again, without any media in between. No media organization is going to cut you off and tell you to stop because you're off the beaten path. I'm curious what real people in this world believe regarding the climate crisis. All right, so there you go. That's what's on my mind tonight. Love to hear your thoughts at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Canadian woman becomes first person diagnosed as suffering from climate change. All right, well, what are your thoughts on this? I've got some things to say, and I'm sure you do as well. Give us a call. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More climate, crisis, hysteria, conspiracy, and you when we come back. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. And we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And we're taking your phone calls. We're talking about climate hysteria, and not the political way. I don't give a damn who you vote for. I don't care. That's not what this is about. We're playing a game tonight called Spot the Conspiracy. And what that means is, with all of this climate alarmism, all the climate change talk, all the big oil conspiracy, all the globalists turning over the government and taking over the power grid, again, like I said, that's just on a base level, right? Talking about that. What is your theory here? Can governments of the world control the weather? All the rest of this stuff, does that even count? Well, how about HARP? How about geoengineering, chemtrails, you name it? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go to our good buddy Joe in Florida. What's up, my friend? Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Not too bad. How's everybody doing?
A-okay, man. A-okay. Other than propaganda firing me up.
Man, I go back and forth. All I hear about on the way to work this morning, the whole weekend, is, good old Greta and carbon this and carbon that, and how they're going to do it, and how it's all talk. But try to look at it from a capitalist point of view. I feel like, maybe it's a conspiracy, maybe it's not, but I feel like every other country in the world is waiting for us. And the reason why is because every other country in the world is tied to our dollar and our money. And while we can print money in big packages out of nothing for our own country, and maybe launder it to other countries, if we really look at what's in the bill, trying to not be totally political, maybe other places could get things started. But let's just look at the combustion engine. Okay. First off, do I believe something's changing? I do. It's hard to, in my opinion, avoid the obvious factor that the Industrial Revolution has done nothing but spew carbon and smoke since the advent of the revolution into the atmosphere. That has to change something. To what extent? Maybe they know better than I do. I'm not a scientist. But let's look at the combustion engine. If we got rid of the combustion engine tomorrow and everybody went to electric, in my opinion, there'd still be pollution. Because you'd still have to mine all of that. You'd have dead batteries. How many dead batteries I've got just from toys and things and items and everything. You know how many cell phones I've got sitting on my counter with all those lithium-ion batteries? If I don't recycle them, then I'm just lazy, because let's face it, Americans are lazy. I'm not going to recycle it. I'm going to throw it in the garbage can. That's going to go in a landfill. I'm trading one devil for the other. For me, the conspiracy is, where is the hydrogen-powered car? That's my conspiracy. All of these, none of these changes are going to be barely a Band-Aid. It's lip service. Okay. Unless we decide we're going to go to hydrogen, if there's such a thing out there. Well, hydrogen and nuclear.
Which is
very little, emissions, zero emissions, or very little emissions. Addressing HARP, I'm kind of all over the place. Yeah, I think every country in the world that has the ability is going to experiment with some kind of weather modification or control. To what extent, we don't know. And in our minds, they can control a whole weather system, but maybe they just want to make it rain in a certain area. That's weather modification, that's weather control. What I fear is that, and I said this before, is that, let's say there's a hurricane somewhere, they could probably power it up and juice it up and make it worse. Okay? Let's face it, the one Katrina that came through Louisiana, a lot of people probably made money on that because they displaced how many people. And who knows if that might have been a category 2 or 3. And you've got this thing that naturally occurs, and you juice it, and maybe you could steer it a little bit, and it goes right in. Let's face it, they run probabilities and models. I mean, we see the spaghetti models, all day long living in Florida in hurricane season. And it hits something, and guess what? Now you got insurance companies buying insurance companies or insurance companies going bankrupt. But rich people and banks moving in and buying beachfront property. So, and that's not a conspiracy, I don't think, in my opinion. It displaces people. When Andrew came through South Florida, it destroyed, Homestead, it destroyed it. Nothing. I had family that went down there to work. And after that, now the building codes have been updated, but it took that. I know since I've lived here in 90, every year, it was like we used to have nice winters. And I'll take that back. This past year, we had a decent winter. But it seemed like forever before that. The air conditioning runs year-round to keep things comfortable. There's something said about that.
It's the same. It's the same here, just about in Vegas, right? So I haven't turned my heater on yet. We're into November, and I'm still using the AC because it's warm. I'm sweating right now. Like I'm still wearing shorts and I'm sweating with the AC on. It's just hot. Okay, but it's always like that in Vegas. It's always like that. But I don't know. So at what point, right, is like an anecdotal thing? Like you can say Florida, I can say Vegas, right? But then again, it seems like voodoo, doesn't it? Like the things they're telling us, it seems like, okay, well, you can even go back and you can cherry pick against their data and say there were times back in 1890 that were hotter than they ever were today, right? You can pick a particularly hot summer and just pick dates and say no, like you guys are dreaming. I don't know. I think that's the worst part, is that like it all seems to be cherry picked data, no matter what you're looking at. Like I said, on both sides, every side, and I don't know. A lot of conspiracies out there.
I agree, but that's what they depend on. It's like, we have a habit of only looking at a small space and time. Trying to give a good example without being political, but I can only help it be political. Everybody wants to blame each party here in America, and I just say, for the last 3 terms, there's a guy in Kentucky that's been running the show, and everybody forgets about that because the press is not always on him. So we only look at small, like you said, anecdotal, but long term, there's been sea level rise. Now, whether that was going to occur naturally, maybe it was. Have we exasperated it? Probably. To what extent? I'm not a climate scientist. I don't know. Why isn't anybody doing anything? Because there's no profit to be made in it yet. They can't figure that out. Okay. If there was really profit to be made in it, we'd be doing something. Okay, that's why the Chinese are doing all the solar panels. Because I can tell you in Florida, the power company fought tooth and nail so that you cannot get solar panels put on your house. It was something with metering, and you still have to pay. But anyway, they were trying to put laws to deter you from getting solar panels because of big oil. So, I mean, depends on your version of a conspiracy. You might be calling it a conspiracy, but we all know that big oil runs the show, and banks and big oil. Then you can get into pharma if you want to go that route. We got a leak of oil in the Gulf of Mexico. Technically, that's climate change. Okay, I've got red tide. Red tide every year out here. Pretty soon, I live 3 or 4 miles from the beach, and I smelt it all summer. So if I'm going to have red tide, why would I live here? I'm on a high point on sea level. I mean, if the sea rose for me, I'd have beachfront property. And my property value would go up, but what would it be worth? I mean, you literally have red tide here the last 2, 3, 4 years. So if I can't even go to the beach in the summertime, what am I doing here? And the same is probably going for a lot of other countries that don't have mass media islands. I forget what island. They're giving some examples of some small islands where, the people may be, out of a home. What are they going to do there? But because I don't think they can make a profit on it, it's just going to be, laid by the wayside. And here's the thing, even if it's not us polluting, clearly there's something going on.
All right, so you
so
agree.
Is there a better answer to it?
So there is a conspiracy here.
Sorry.
And there's probably 10 conspiracies here. It's just coming from all over the place, right? And they're fighting for, I'm with you, the dollar is king, right? And they're fighting to see who can profitize this the best, right? That's what they're looking for. And once they do, the whole world will turn and follow. Whether it's the best thing for the world or not, always marketing, right? Always PR, always BS. It's unfortunate.
It is, and if you notice COVID, COVID's kind of slipping out of the news a little bit, and now we're getting this climate thing. And actually, it's a funny thing. I just forgot a few more minutes, but I had a family today to come into the funeral home, and they were from Texas, from Houston. They were both engineers, and I started talking to them about when they had the freeze, and we got a little political, and probably the same way I am, that both parties suck and everybody should get pitchforks. But anyway, I don't condone violence. But they said because things were so privatized and Texas seeking to be its own state, they didn't know enough to try to buy energy to keep things supplying. And that family told me, which I confirmed with another family, actually, that somebody worked in the state Senate. They had told me, they said that they're still debating that in hearings in Texas about who's to blame for the power outages, whether it was the oil companies that didn't supply oil and gas to the power companies or the power companies and vice versa. They were playing the blame game. And you're talking about one state that can't get their act together. Imagine all the countries of the world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We can't agree. We can't agree on this is blue. We can't agree on it. So what do you do at some point? Do all the countries go carbon neutral except for China? And then we lay our eggs with China to keep making everything and let them pollute themselves? Because they're not going to go for that. So what do we do? I think that's why these idiots are looking to go to space.
Because they know we're screwed.
When we all keep talking about this thought experiment, that's why they want to go to space. But instead of maybe trying to use the oceans to scrub the air, who knows? But let's look at desalination. We have less fresh water. Is that a conspiracy? Is that climate change? We know that we have less fresh water. Right? And Nestle wants to privatize water. Is that climate change?
Right. But then
not a conspiracy? No.
Well, but then back to weather control. If you can make it rain, then what's it, right? Then fresh water shouldn't be an issue, should it?
Well, it shouldn't be an issue, but I don't think if you have a weapon, and I didn't want to bring this thought up, but now we're kind of approaching it. I would think that if we do have these means or modes of changing the weather, that maybe we would use it to punish people that aren't complying. Okay? Just like some people theorize that COVID, hit Republican-run states more. And you can make the argument that actually either, happened because we got punished for it, or it just happened because people didn't want to take precautions and didn't give a crap.
Right.
Because everybody has a knee-jerk reaction. But you could say that. You could say that, if the state's not complying, maybe they'll get a few hurricanes this year. I don't want to curse myself, but it strikes me that every hurricane that seems to come to Florida tends to pitch out or hit North Carolina or hit Georgia, or it pitches back out into the Gulf. Like, there's always a high-pressure ridge. And part of me starts to wonder if that high-pressure ridge is artificial or if it's encouraged. because they do say that the Gulf Stream is weakening. So if the Gulf Stream is weakening and HAARP does exist, and you could bounce things off the upper atmosphere, then maybe you could bend a weakened Gulf Stream just a little bit more so a hurricane just drifts out.
Well, if they can control the weather, they can control a lot of things. Like, let's see, who said this? Elizabeth said, "He who controls the weather controls the world." Lyndon Baines Johnson, it's been going on a long time. Great quote there. We got a call behind you. We got to go, my brother. Final thought on this. Spot the conspiracy.
No,
is it as easy as that? There's not one conspiracy here. There's a lot, isn't there?
No, there's a lot. I can't really, to me, they're not conspiracy. To me, they're happening. I mean, it depends on how we're looking at conspiracy. I mean, they're happening. It's all happening, whether we got a poster child for gun control or whether we have a poster child for weather control. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the two, like alien dialects. Play this against that, play that against this. All I know is all my cars got 8 cylinders and nobody's coming to get them tomorrow. So,
Not yet.
And they want to put a gas tax. Let's put it like that on the last note. They want to have that mileage tax or that travel tax, and I think that's a little bit of BS too. So, but have a good night.
You're the best, Joe. Appreciate it. Great takes as always. Joe in Florida. Geez. All right. So we're talking about this tonight. This seems ridiculous. Canadian woman becomes first person diagnosed as suffering from climate change. Thank you for the phone call, Joe, to kick us off. If you want to be part of the show, what are your thoughts on this? We're playing Spot the Conspiracy. All right. That's the name of the game tonight. When I look at this, I see a conspiracy from every single angle. Is it possible the governments of the world are controlling the weather? And if so, are they weaponizing it, using it against us? What about geoengineering? What about HAARP? What about chemtrails? What about all of these things? What do you believe? Clearly, big oils runs the show. What about the governments of the world? What is going on? Like, you can't even look at this and just go, okay, yeah, clearly they're doing this because of that. Well, sure, that, but then what about all this other stuff? It's crazy. It's crazy. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go to, I'm not exactly sure who this is. Welcome to the show. You're on with Trouble Minds with Mike. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Joseph.
Joseph in Iowa. What's up, my brother?
From the other day.
What's up, bro? What's on your mind tonight?
So I was kind of like I have a lot of ideas, I write. And so I was thinking like weather machines would definitely be possible. All the what do you call it? All the resources like the oceans and all that would definitely be possible. But I think they're just scaring us and just seeing what we think of it. And they're showing us all this stuff on like TV and stuff because they're desensitizing us to something that's about to happen that they have to do.
Okay, so
that's
what do you
like
think?
Maybe a type 1 civilization.
Okay, so that's the trick, right? So if we were
and that would definitely be controlling the weather. Like if you're a type 1 civilization, not only controlling the weather, you're controlling your. I don't know exactly. I didn't really look. I kind of like grazed into it, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's sci-fi.
Yeah. Okay. So
that's what.
Go ahead.
That's what I would lean towards. Like they're like, we can get it, but can you? It's like Nike, just do it.
Just do it. Just get it.
And I think that's a big sacrifice, like, and it's bigger than a lot of people realize.
Which part though? Which part is a sacrifice? Please explain.
I'm not sure. I mean, it's a lot more than I could even imagine trying to do something like that,
Okay. To control the weather is what you're talking about? I'm not sure what you mean. That's why I'm saying clarify, please.
Yeah. I mean, like become like a type 1 civilization, control everything,
Okay.
Like, because I've had like ideas of making like capsules that are buoyant in the ocean and like stuff that's quite bizarre, but never thought to bring anything to life. But everything is possible,
Okay, so Keep listening. I've got some evidence here to suggest that not only do governments of the world actually, they're able to control the weather. They've been thinking about this for a very long time. So I'll get to some of this. I've got links for you. Links are down below if you want to check that stuff out. I'm with you, man. Like the stuff, it seems a stretch with our current technology, but I don't know. Like you got to think about the insidiousness of the players in this game, and we're talking about like billionaires, like going to be the first trillionaire in this world. Is it going to be big oil? Is it going to be who's mining asteroids? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be the climate change when the economy turns over? What's it going to be? Like these are big chess pieces moving around, and this is not at the pawn level, and that's why I'm trying to figure out exactly where the conspiracy lies. This is huge, and so what does it mean? So I don't know. Do you agree with me at least that there's at least one conspiracy afoot here with all the climate stuff?
Like I really haven't seen much. I don't watch news and stuff, so like much news. But if you're seeing it all over, I mean, it's probably I haven't seen much difference where I am. I mean, actually, it's not snowing right now. I remember winters or Halloween when it would be snow, but that's who knows,
That's weather, not climate. I mean, I get it, the small sample size stuff. Like I said, you can cherry pick data. Okay. All right. So stay tuned because I've got some information that may raise your eyebrows. Okay. Joseph, you were the best. Thank you so much for the call. Thank you for listening. I got to go. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, brother. Have a great night. All right. So that's what's on my mind tonight. Spot the conspiracy. All right. If we're talking about this, the very first thing, the Canadian woman becomes first person diagnosed as suffering from climate change. Clearly, right? Like this is a topic that's just laden, dripping in propaganda. So what's the conspiracy? All right. Is it big oil? That'd be a simple conspiracy, right? Trust the science? Well, we saw where that got us the last couple of years. Trust the science, right? How about can governments control the weather? All right. What about HARP? What about geoengineering? What about chemtrails, right? And so I say chemtrails and people go, oh, geez, this guy's a crazy conspiracy theorist. Well, there's a scientific name for it. It's called stratospheric aerosol injections. And they're doing this stuff. So, well, what are your thoughts? Like I said, wherein lies the conspiracy? And that's what's on my mind tonight. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like I said, you can't get a straight answer from anybody because that's just the way the world works anymore. It's all propaganda all the time. And like I said, it drives me nuts because I don't even know what to think. Clearly, let's conserve the planet. Let's not send Elon and the billionaires to Mars and Elysium. You guys seen the movie? Then we're left in squalor on the earth as the guys with big money take off and live on the space station, right? I mean, like I said, there's a lot here to think about, a lot to talk about. So we're playing this tonight. Spot the climate conspiracy. What is it? You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. If you want to be part of the show, love to hear your thoughts. And of course, well, the conspiracy is where... Oh boy, too much. Don't go anywhere. More troubled minds, climate hysteria, the conspiracies, and you after the break. Be right back. Talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. Through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
Alright, so maybe
and they also feel them planting or
broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
All right, welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you whom we also have Troubled Minds. All right, this is a show where we get together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific, and we talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are? Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. This show is live. If you want to be part of it, we are streaming on DLive, Rockfin, YouTube, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. The number to call is 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we're discussing the climate. Meaning, of course, climate alarmism, climate change, the politicization of this. Wherein lies the conspiracy? Can governments themselves actually control the weather? What about geoengineering? What about HARP? What about all these things, right? What about chemtrails? You tell me. Is there something to this? And let's spot the conspiracy. So let's go to, we got a phone call on deck. Looking to hear your thoughts on this tonight. And we're not censoring this. We're not trying, just please don't curse on the radio. That's it. We're not trying to censor your thoughts. I want to find out what real people out there think. So let's go. I'm not sure exactly who this is, but let's go to, welcome to the show. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike. What's your first name and where are you calling from?
My name is Dino, and I'm in Florida. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Dino in Florida, welcome to the show. What's on your mind tonight, my man?
All right. It's about the climate control. Pretty much, when all the texts I've read in books and looking through history, the planet goes through 3 stages, and it's been doing it for millions of years. Apparently, we're supposed to be going into the 3rd stage, and it's supposed to be a highly aggressive stage. And you probably heard of it. It's called Earth crust displacement. And when this happens, pretty much we'll go into a 100-year winter, and then that would throw us into the next stage, and then the Earth replenishes itself.
Okay, so meaning, so if that's the case, that means it's just a cyclical thing, and what we can do about it is maybe less than advertised. Is that what we're saying here? Is that your theory?
Well, there's really all the money in the world can't handle this situation. Once this happens, it literally would replenish. Like we found, here, maybe go a little bit further back. We found spark plugs inside of a rock that dated probably about 20, 30,000 years ago. Now, see, there's like, when we found the woolly mammoth that was frozen and everything was like stayed inside it, whatever it was eating, most of the other ones were like brought back into the earth and cooked. Because when the earth cracks open, like the shell, it rips open, it will spew fire and lava. And everything on top will be like rearranged and sucked back in and like literally melt back into the earth. So that's why we can't find much history through like things that happened to like the earlier civilization that was like way smarter than us type deal. And once this happens, like when the earth cracks open and replenishes itself, the atmosphere will fill with this like enormous poisonous gas. And I forget what the 2 gases are. Probably listeners know. But when it happens, then like we'll go into a 100-year winter. But right now, the earth is getting cooked from the inside out like a microwave from the sun. And when this happens, that's when we're going to go through that. And then that big volcano, if that thing blows, they said if you're on Venus and you look at Earth, that you can see with your naked eye that the Earth will like kind of decompress itself, and then you'll see the atmosphere fill up. So pretty much climate control, they can't control it. There's no way to control it. This is like the next stage that this planet's going to go into, and pretty much all living organisms will be destroyed.
Okay, so basically then the conspiracy is this. They just want to spend a ton of money on a bunch of stuff in the hopes that we don't notice, right? We're talking about this Canadian woman becomes the first person diagnosed as suffering from climate change, and they're trying to pull a fast one on everybody. Is that what's going on here? They just want to spend as much money as possible and say they're doing something?
Pretty much, yes. That's exactly what's going on. They know they can't control this. They know if they even looked at the text or even read ancient like tablets and things like that, they would know that this is a recurring thing. I believe it's 693,000 years it happens. And when we're at the year of 672, like it's supposed to be coming around the block right now. And they know this. And, we're just the masses. They need to keep us under control so we don't freak out and ruin their plans and whatever they're doing. But they know they can't do nothing about it.
Okay.
But,
okay.
Like I said, I forget what I wanted to tell you, too. Because I tell you what, it's the first time I ever called into a radio station, but my mind bounced around too much.
Yeah, that's okay. It's not as easy as it looks, trying to keep your thoughts square. I appreciate it. Where did you find us, Dino?
Ooh, just a whole bunch of tablets, scrolls, books. Then I got into like science, and when I got into the science, it kept talking about Earth crust displacement, and then I guess it was books that was written in the early 1700s, 1800s, and I forget who the guy's name was.
Okay.
But there was it's hard to tell. I can't even figure that one out either.
That's cool. Earth crust displacement. I've never heard of that. I'll check into it. So my question for you was, where did you find this show? Where did you hear about us?
Oh, there's a buddy of mine. His name is Phantom. I play video games with him for like 15, 14 years. He listens to your show all the time. He told me I had to listen to you, that we can call in. And I should have prepared myself when I called in with better knowledge. But if you did look into the Earth crust displacement, it opens a whole new door of things and what to look at.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the buddy of mine named Phantom.
Okay, I appreciate that. Tell your friend, thank you so much for sharing. And to you, thank you for finding us and calling in. That's what makes this go around. Like I always say, my secret weapon is you. Nobody censors you. You call in, you tell us what you think. Earth crust displacement is new to me. I'll look into this. You're the best. Thank you for calling. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. You're the best, my brother.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Have a great night. Simple as that. Phone lines work. Great thoughts tonight. Again, let's spot the conspiracy. What is the climate conspiracy? And Dino brought up a great point. Could all the money in the world change it? If you took all of the trillions of dollars, the whole world over, I don't know what, 20, 30 trillion or whatever's out there, and you just dumped it into this, could you change it? Could you actually change what's happening right now? Okay? Meaning, well, the cyclical process of this. I think that's the weirdness. Like I said, so we're trying to spot the conspiracy tonight regarding the climate hysteria, regarding climate change, as it were, regarding, well, all the rest of this. Now, okay, this is where we began. Now, seems a little ridiculous. A Canadian woman becomes first person diagnosed as suffering from climate change. All right? But check this out. You probably didn't know this. This is back in 1996, August 1996. The Air Force, yeah, that's right, the Air Force, wrote this paper called this: Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. All right. Now I'm going to link this and you guys can check this out. This is the whole PDF. And as far as I can tell, this is real. Okay. And some of the things they list in here are, why would you want to mess with the weather? What do we mean by weather modification? The global weather network, applying weather modifications to military operations, concept of operations, precipitation, fog, storms, exploitation of near space for space control, opportunities afforded by space weather modification. Now we're talking about in space. Communications dominance via ionospheric modification. And again, right here, read it. Here's we're going to look at some of this stuff, but this is the point, right? Do you think that the actual governments at large can control the weather? Here's a paper from the Air Force back in 1996, and they were saying here's the plan to do it by 2025. Well, newsflash, it's 2021. That's pretty close to 2025. So what do you think is really going on here? If you could control the weather actually, even in short spurts and short places to maybe make rain or delay rain or things like this, if that's the case, then what's going on with the climate? Does that mean you could change the climate also or not? Clearly, they're two different things, short-term, long-term, right? There's a whole lot to this. It's not a simple thing. And do you buy it that if we don't do XYZ, vote for these people by this time, it's the end of the world, right? That's the stuff that really, really gets my goat when you hear this type of stuff. Because, well, I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. Like I said, Jay in the chat's like, oh boy, we're going to get fire and brimstone tonight. I don't know about that. I'm not trying to do that. It does irritate me, though. I have to admit, this really, really gets under my skin, because none of these people are telling the truth. Absolutely. Because clearly they've been making these grim weather predictions for over 30 years, right? We're supposed to be underwater already. But anyway, back to this document. Okay, check this out. This is from, and we're taking your phone calls. If you have thoughts on this, do you think that the governments of the world can actually control the weather? And to what degree? Let's say they can do it, but how widespread do you think it is? And do you think they can control it all over the world and control the climate at large? That's what I want to know. Here you go. In 1996, the Air Force put out Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. And yeah, there we go. So look at this. Now this gets a little crazier. So if you scroll down in this document here, operational capabilities matrix. They're talking about precipitation enhancement. They're talking about storm enhancement. They're talking about precipitation denial, space weather, fog and cloud removal, detect hostile weather activities, right? Meaning detect when other countries are actually doing the same type of weather manipulation and modification, precipitation avoidance for like a friendly campaign going on, storm modification for, again, this, like, look, it's right there. Like they were talking about this as a plan from the Air Force in 1996 and saying that the plan was to be able to control the weather by 2025. So do you think this is real? Do you think this is real? This is what I'm asking tonight. Let's spot the conspiracy. So with all this climate alarmism, again, like I said, is it big oil? Is it globalist takeover of the energy sector? What is it? Where's the conspiracy? Is it both? Is that what the fight's about? But then, as Dino said, he doesn't think all the money in the world can change it. We're stuck in this loop, and they're just trying to tell us by cherry picking some data that the end is nigh. And you know me, like I like to be positive about this stuff. Like I don't want to look at a future where the end is nigh. Like I'm not selling anybody meteor juice. We aren't doing that. So what's really going on here? And this is the thing that makes me mad about all of it, is you can't trust any of it. So what's really going on? Yeah, weather warfare. What's up, Dagger Spells? I see in the chat. Yeah, I mean this is the craziest part about all this. Who do you trust? Who can you trust? Clearly, there's more than one conspiracy afoot here. And again, if they were from the Air Force creating this weather control, weather as a force multiplier, owning the weather in 2025, if this was created then, and they've been working on this since then, what about DARPA? What about, what about HARP? What about all these things? Is that just conspiracy theory? That's the question tonight. So let's find the conspiracy. That's the game tonight. And if you have thoughts on this, again, we started with this. Canadian woman becomes first person diagnosed as suffering from climate change. And if that propaganda doesn't make you mad, I don't know what does. I don't know. It's weird. And, well, I mean, you know, like I said, read the article. It's eye-opening, some of the things they try and tell you about what's happening. And look, so if this doctor in Canada had just said, yeah, it's unfortunate, you've got, heart failure, you've got diabetes, you're older than 70 years old, here's what we got to do, we're treating you for those things, right? It would have made no news whatsoever. But that doctor now saying, well, I'm diagnosing you as the suffering from climate change. Look what happens. It makes the mainstream media. You see, things can be manipulated easily. But how much of this is true? That's what I want to know. Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can find the phone number at troubledminds.org as well as the Discord link. Also join the Fringe Discord at fringe.fm/chat. I'm watching all the chat and all the places, trying to keep up with all you guys and all the smart comments out there. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think this is? So spot the conspiracy. All right. So we saw this Air Force document that as early as, even recently in 1996, they created this document as a way to say by 2025, we could weaponize the weather. Okay. All right. So that's that, right? And so you think, all right, so where's the conspiracy? Can they do this or can they not? How close are they? The goal was by 2025. Okay. It's 2021. Like I said, you trust the science, right? And if you don't, you're a denier, aren't you? You're a climate denier. Whatever they want to call you. You're a dirty conspiracy theorist, right? All the rest of those things. But when I look at these news cycles, nothing adds up regarding this climate stuff. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because of course, right? Big oil, sure, it's a thing. But do they own the whole world? Maybe. What do you think? What do you think? What's up, Doombot? I see in the chat. Destroy all humans, you say, eh? Yeah, I don't know. So, okay, so there's more to this, right? If you look at my links, all my links are down below. I like to link the things I'm talking about because I'm not just making stuff up, all right? I'm not. I'm pointing to these sources, and we're not going to get into this scientist said this and that scientist said that, right? Because clearly we've seen that before, haven't we? Kind of in the Dr. Fauci realm, right? It's like, okay, well, who's working for the government and who's not, right? Who's getting money from who? Right? Big pharma in that regard. But in this regard, who is the Dr. Fauci of climate change? There's got to be one out there, right? What do you think? And do we just trust that person because they're the top climatologist in the world? Because we're told that person is? I don't know. Anyway, it frustrates me. I know, like I said, I know this is less interesting than most things we talk about. But I saw this and I couldn't resist. I was just like, really? Is this where we're at? Now think about it. Like they're saying in this article, 500 people alone this year in Canada died of climate change. 500 people. Really? I mean, I'm not laughing because people died. I'm laughing because of the way they classify that people died. Right? And again, I don't have to get into the big pharma and all that other stuff because that's going to get us taken down off the whole damn internet. But you see what I'm saying here? This doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't. All right. So anyway, we got this weather modification document, weather as a force multiplier, owning the weather in 2025, from the Air Force all the way back to 1996. So how close do you think they are? Have they achieved this? Again, back to the chemtrails, right? If you bring up chemtrails, people think you're insane. But did you know chemtrails have a scientific basis, a scientific term, and it's called stratospheric aerosol injection. All right. Now this is real. Let's check this out. And yeah, if you go to, and the places this stuff is coming from is even more telling. It's coming from like Yale. It's coming from Harvard. It's coming from Columbia University, right? Is where this stuff is coming from. But here we go. Geoengineer the planet. More scientists now say it must be an option. What does that mean? Geoengineer the planet. What does that mean? Does that sound like, I mean, like you just sprinkle some dust in the air and it changes everything, right? Everything is better. Everything is how you want it to be. All right. Anyway, let's read just a little bit about this. Like I said, let's spot the conspiracy because where is it? Clearly big oil, but then beyond that, can governments affect the weather, control the weather even? Right? What about HARP? What about chemtrails? What about all of this stuff? Spot the conspiracy. Here we go. So let's see. Here we go. This is a spate of dire scientific warnings that the world community can no longer delay major cuts in carbon emissions, coupled with a recent surge in atmospheric concentrations of CO2, has left a growing number of scientists saying that it's time to give the controversial technologies a serious look. Talking about, yep, you guessed it, geoengineering. Now, what does it mean? Here we go. One geoengineering advocate, former British government chief scientist David King, told a conference last fall, time is no longer on our side. What we do over the next 10 years will determine the future of humanity for the next 10,000 years. I'm not a mathematician. But does that make any sense to you? at all what we do over the next 10 will determine the future of humanity for the next 10,000. Man, that's some serious leverage, isn't it? That's some serious business. This must really be the end of times. He continues. So this individual, David King, helped secure the Paris Climate Agreement in 2015, but he no longer believes cutting planet-warming emissions is enough to stave off disaster. He is in the process of establishing a Center for Climate Repair at Cambridge University. It would be the world's first major research center dedicated to a task that he says is going to be necessary. Yeah. Geoengineering. And of course, right, you say geoengineering, you say stratospheric aerosol injections, and you're an academic, right? You're like, we're trying to save the world here. But if you say HARP, weather control, and you say chemtrails, people freak out. And you're a dirty, crazy conspiracy theorist, right? So what's the truth here? What's really going on? Is everything hidden in plain sight like they always say? Are the terms here intentionally just scrambled up in a blender so everybody's confused all the time? Can we, indeed, if we pour trillions of dollars into this effort, really change the environment for the better? For the next 10,000 years even? Telling you, some of the language they use is alarming. All right? You want to talk about climate alarmism? This is it. And so what happens? You put some silver sulfide in the air, block out the sun a little bit, knock the temperature down by about 2 degrees all over the world, and then what? Then what? Like I said, the propaganda on this is in so many areas all over the place that like I said, you know me, I'm not even the answers guy anyway. I'm not trying to make anybody believe anything. I'm just trying to ask it's impossible to even ask the right questions on this because there's so many conspiracies. Just in one topic. It's crazy. And yet here we are. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Geoengineering, climate alarmism. If you poured trillions of dollars into this effort, could you change the future of humanity for the next 10,000 years, as said by this government guy? Or not? That's what's on my mind tonight. Like I said, I understand it's not quite as exciting and sexy as Lovecraftian old ones or portals, but these are conspiracies nonetheless. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Spot the climate conspiracy. Which angle's it coming from? And is it all angles? You tell me. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. More climate conspiracy and you after the break. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your phone calls. As always, you can reach us at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. And tonight, we're discussing the conspiracy of the climate. Now, of course, you can say, like I just said in the break there, come on, Michael Strange, don't be stupid. It's just big oil, right? Sure, fine. Definitely. But what about this? Can the governments of the world control the weather? And if so, is it possible that they're weaponizing it against us? That's what I want to know. We've all heard chemtrails, and like I said, you can say chemtrails, you roll your eyes. Oh, you dirty conspiracy theorist. You say stratospheric aerosol injection, and you talk about geoengineering, and you work as, for Harvard. You see? It's the same thing. It's just a different term. All right? So the thing I want to know is, at what level does this conspiracy lie? If it's just I could be missing it, right? I could be overthinking this, and it's just big oil, and that's that. But what about all the rest? What about the claims that the governments of the world can indeed control the weather? And we've got some of that too. So let's talk about that. And so as we said earlier, there's this actual document that was written by the Air Force back in 1996, and it's called this. So here's your first clue that this is actually happening right now. This is called Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. And I've got it linked. You guys can check it out. Read the document yourself. Okay, so there's clue number one. They've been thinking about this in terms of weaponizing the weather for a very long time. And if you think 1996 was the first time, you're probably dreaming. Okay, so then let's check this out. There's more here. Let's see. The chemtrail conspiracy theories. No, not that. Here we go. HARP, not that. Climate alarmism. Okay, I talked to children about climate change. Hold on one sec. Let me find this. Here we go. This is from CNN, the most trusted source in news. Here we go. This is China to expand weather modification program to cover area larger than India. That's weird. Doesn't that seem odd? That's a big area. You know how big India is? That's a big old country. That's a big old country. All right, now check this out. We're going to read a little bit from this. Like I said, 1996, the Air Force was talking about weaponizing the weather. Okay, so let's look at this. China this week, and this is actually from December 3rd, 2020. Less than a year ago. And yep, China this week revealed plans to drastically expand an experimental weather modification program to cover an area of over 5.5 million square kilometers. That would be 2.1 million square miles, more than 1.5 times the total size of India. All right. And here you go. It's right here. According to a statement from the state council, China will have a developed weather modification system by 2025. Wow, where have we heard that date before? 2025. Doesn't that seem strange to you? Weird. Almost like they were on the same timeline. Weird. Anyway, thanks to breakthroughs in fundamental research and key technologies, as well as improvements in comprehensive prevention against safety risks. In the next 5 years, the total area covered by artificial rain or snowfall, did you catch that? Covered by artificial rain or snowfall will reach that 5.5 million square kilometers, while over 580,000 square kilometers will be covered by hail suppression technologies. The statement added that the program will help with disaster relief, agricultural production, emergency responses to forest and grassland fires, and dealing with unusually high temperatures or droughts. Okay. Interesting. All right. So if that's the case, and they can deal with droughts or deal with fires by just kicking up the rain machine, how long have they been doing this? And how long in particular have we been doing this? Notice how on the Weather Channel, or on, let's say, any news station you ever put on, by the way, nobody ever says, oh, yeah, here's the thing. And they say, well, you know, because of the weather modification service, this is what the weather's going to look like, right? They never say that. They just say, this is what the weather's going to be, right? What's up? Terminal Arch says in the chat, like literally at war with God or nature in parentheses. It seems like it, doesn't it? It seems like it. All right, we got a couple callers here. Let's go. I'm not sure who was here first. Let's go to our good buddy Rohan. Rohan, are you there? Test 1, 2. Looking to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on this? Where is the conspiracy with the weather modification? What's up, my man? If you want to be part of the show,
hey, bro.
Real quick, just 1 sec, 702-957-1037, or you can click the Discord link at Troubled Minds and get on the Discord, just like Rohan. How are you, my friend? Welcome to the show.
Hey, buddy, I'm great, thanks for asking. And enjoying the show, man. It's a good one, this one, I like this. Like you say, this is one of those that sprawls out into so many directions, and I think it just has to, doesn't it? So I've got about 6 points to make, a little laundry list.
Oh, okay, you got a list. Let's hear it. Let's hear what you got.
Okay, all right, okay, so to start off with, the lady being diagnosed suffering from like climate change. So we're laughing. That seems a bit silly. Well, it's a bit of an ambiguous statement. Anyway, you mean climate change? What is it? You got wet and it was traumatic. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, you're blaming acts of God. Was it the wind that blew your wig off and it came from the east? So you want reparations from, you know, Japan and China? Do you know what I mean? It gets ridiculous. And I think it's not the first time. I mean, I haven't read into the story, but it might be one of those where you get the diagnosis manual for mental health disorders. There's always new submissions going in every year for proposed things that should be considered a mental health disorder. So that side of things, that kind of happens all the time. But I thought it did make me laugh that it was Canada for various reasons.
Right.
I
didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go there, but this
I was going to say the government's off the rails there. There's lots of stuff in Canada that's weird socially, that seems very far left in its thinking, and it ties into a lot of other far left kind of thinking stuff and weird stuff that goes on. And there's loads of psyops going on, is what I'm sort of getting at, I reckon. You know, so yeah, with that bit, right? With the diagnosis, I think it's go ahead, sorry.
No, it's just super confusing. It's that they throw everything out there and literally try and get to the bottom of this, try and get to the real science on this. It's all so fabricated and spun. It's almost like you can't. It is so deep, the rabbit holes here, that we're all left scratching our head. Even the conspiracy theorists are confused, right? We're like, wait a minute, there's 10 levels of conspiracy in just one little thing here. Anyway, go right ahead.
Yeah, even down to like Justin Trudeau we're talking about here, and Justin Trudeau I remember him stopping somebody at some talk and saying, "Oh no, we can't say mankind. We have to say humankind." And everyone's clapping. "Oh, it's really great, isn't it great?" But the thing is, it's like people know that the word mankind is not even to do with gender. It's the word man, human, means hue, God, man is referring to the mammal, so it's the God mammal, so it's referring to, you know, we're mammals, humanity. It's not really about gender. You know, do you know what I mean? And you'd think etymological scholars would know this stuff. And you know what I'm saying? It's like, but they do, and so they go splitting hairs with little things like that. Do you know what I'm saying? It really muddies the waters, and it's like, was it the caller Jeff? I think he'd said that it's like the scare tactics. You know, the scare patrol is always on the case. I think that's part. I think gathering the data and how we respond to it is all part of the game. You know, probably to feed the AI. Do you know what I'm saying? And in terms of weather manipulation, yeah, they can do it. Of course, there's so many things. I mean, hurricanes making 90-degree turns. There was a hurricane going for New York on 9/11, 2001. You know what I'm saying? It does a 90-degree turn on the coast, allowing hijackers to then, do you know what I'm saying, do what they do. You got cloud seeding, dropping iodine in the Korean War, dropping iodine into clouds to make it hold more rain and then washing out bridges. You know, you had Wilhelm Reich with his experiments with organ energy and making cloud busters, of which there was a Kate Bush song and video about. Do you know what I mean? You've got, so yeah, I just think there's, it's like these Jedi mind tricks going on at the same time as actual technology, at the same time as you're trying to instill this notion that we're like a cancer to the planet, mixing that up with a kind of druid pagan idea of putting nature first, which makes sense, don't hurt your environment, but at the same time guilting us through that kind of religious dogma style. And this is coming from the 1% of the people that are doing the majority of the pollution, that also have the 1% of the wealth that are in the best position to do something about it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so, do you know what I'm saying, Mike? That's really so brazen and all in your face. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, perfectly. And this is sort of my beef with the whole thing, is that it's like, like I said, I do my best to be responsible. I'm not wasteful in any way, shape, or form. But my thing is, just like you're describing, right? Obama's got the oceanfront property, right? So if he really knows that the crap's going to be underwater in 5 or 10 years, why did he buy that? That makes no sense, does it? And then also we got those same elites with these mansions and these giant swimming pools that they heat, that they're watering. They're watering like huge acres and acres and acres of like grass and plants and all. You know what I mean? It's like clearly they mean for us. They mean, and my joke for me is, okay, so they want me to take fewer warm showers and drink less cold beer. right? They would be perfectly happy if I was, taking a warm shower and drinking warm beer, a cold shower, drinking warm beer, because then I'm doing my part, right? But then the beer's too much, right? Because the CO2 you put in the thing, and it just gets ridiculous. It's like, wait, so when are we going to do something about those jerks that are just spending money frivolously on watering their lawn and heating their pools, their Olympic-sized swimming pools, right? Like, that's a thing. That's a real thing. Matter of fact, while I'm on the soapbox for a minute, here in Vegas, 38% of the water that is used in the entire valley is by 30 people or something like that. And guess who they are? They're all the richest people in the state. It's real.
Well, isn't that funny? Well, please, if you can move up a little bit, Mark, allow me onto the soapbox too, because we've got a COP26, the global summit in Scotland, in Britain, and it's calculated that because there's always politicians come in, and it's like a little village doing up in Scotland. They decided to put all the bed and breakfast prices up by like 1,000% and stuff. You know what I mean? Just try and make a bit of money. So they've gone, oh yeah, well we can't get enough accommodation. It's going to take 11-day summit. So I know we'll hire 2 cruise ships on the taxpayers' money. And the total cost for the whole time getting everybody there doing it all, it's all going to come to 15 to 18 million in taxpayer money to have an 11-day summit with globalists coming on, like you say, on the private jets to tell us that we're bad for the environment. It's just like, what?
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying? It gets me shaking a little bit, energetically. Like, am I vibrating here, or I'm actually angry? Not in the third hour yet, are we?
It's a solid good vibrations. Okay, but here's the craziest part about all that, right? So once you do that and you start remember, let's rewind 2 years and think about what happened the past 2 years. They were super quick to determine who was essential and who was not. Right. So, right. So notice now with this climate catastrophe that's happening. Well, who's going to be divided into those lots of who's essential and who's not? Right. Who gets to water their lawn and have their Olympic-sized swimming pool, and who has to stop drinking cold beer because it's just too much for the environment, Mike? Matter of fact, just stop breathing. All that CO2 that comes out of your mouth from that talk show, all that CO2 that you're spitting. Holy crap, man. You know what you're doing to the environment in Vegas? You probably single-handedly probably made this entire state 4 degrees hotter this past summer just from all the CO2 coming out of my mouth. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, look at the timing. Look at the timing over the last 20 years. Yeah, you got at the beginning, the year 2000, new millennium, boom, straight away. Right, we had the big scare meister over, oh no, what if Y2K and all the computers go down? No, right, that was just nonsense, wasn't it? So okay, so then you got 2001 Trade Center, then 2008 you get a big economic crash of the market, which is really like an economic theft and redistribution of wealth. Okay, then you got hype for the Mayan calendar 2012. Nothing appears to happen, although there really was a cosmic alignment. We really did, you know what I mean? There really is energetic stuff happening. Do you know what I'm saying? But that all gets pointed towards the Mayan calendar and being bong. Do you know what I'm saying? And then we get this last couple of years, and it's almost like with this overarching story of climate, we're all bad. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I think it's rinsing us for much resources and money. And it's almost like you say, they want to take more and more and get closer. And if you give a little bit, then they want more and more and more. And it's like you say, they'll reduce you down to, oh, you've got to take the carbon out of your beer. And then it's got to be completely natural fermented fruit. And then it's just got to be some rye grain with sugar and water in that's been sat in the bar for 3 months. Do you know what I mean?
That you can only consume in your tiny home.
In a thimble.
Right, exactly.
Government issue.
So
4.5 milliliters.
So it's not about wealth, right? It's about like the double standard. It's all, again, the whole world is in this upside down. It's always a double standard, right?
Yeah.
Us, the useless eaters, the unwashed masses, the plebs, all of us, right? We again, I'm not against it. Let's do our part. But when you seriously tell me every single year it's not enough coming from me. Well, I want Obama first living in a Donald Trump, both of them together in a little container home. Right there, nowhere near the water.
Yeah.
Then talk to me. Until that point, I don't want to hear a damn thing about it. And all of this is in my face. Greta. How dare you? How dare
Yeah,
you?
remember that famous Bill Gates TED talk, and he's basically saying everyone, like, you know, he's doing the graphs and stuff, and he's saying we need to get, basically, he says it without saying it, or this many amount of people need to disappear, and it just must happen, you know. And so he's got his TED talk saying that, and I'm like thinking, well, you first, Bill. You know, you get in the queue, go and line your family up then, because he was almost talking like noble sacrifice. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of language. You know, he does sort of say some strange things in the way word stuff, and has some strange responses. You know, and it's like it's almost like it's such a. I know I've said this before, Michael, to the listeners. So I apologise, but it's like Bill Gates has done interviews with his bookshelves behind him, and he says the numbers don't lie, but the bookshelf over his shoulder is called there's a book that says How to Lie with Statistics.
I've seen
and he's known to do you know what I mean, he's known to recommend. He has a list of books that he recommends for people to read, and it's in his list. It's you know what I mean. But did they think we're stupid? But I think that's the case. I think they do. Paul Joseph Watson, give him a big up. Paul Joseph Watson from Summit News, associated with like Alex Jones stuff, and that used to be on their thing, but he's got his own stuff. British guy. He found an article. I think I mentioned this before. He says, fact check, George Soros has nothing to do with this Venezuelan businessman. Then he goes on to say how George Soros met him in Venezuela, went into business with him. So you're like, well, you said it wasn't true in the headline in the first paragraph, and then went on to explain how it is true in the same article. So see how that works.
Yeah, it's perception.
So you didn't lie. You didn't lie. You just relied on people to be too lazy to read it all.
Right. And then misrepresented in the title. And that's the way it is. It's all perception management. And that's what I'm saying about this. Clearly there's something to this. And my whole point is they were quick to draw those lines for COVID between who was essential and who was not. Now with this, right, are we going to get to that point? Because they're kicking around like ridiculous ideas. We're gonna put a state of emergency into effect to curb this. And then, of course, what happens? Then they're able to make those delineations between who's essential and who's not. And that's how you really piss me off. Don't get me going on that. But you said you had some more stuff. Go right ahead.
Yeah, well, on that one, just to respond to that, Michael, it's like when you give people like emergency powers, you know, medical status, overreaching powers, like in Star Trek, for instance, the only person that can take over the captain is the doctor, medical grounds, right? Once you give that's like overarching lord power, isn't it? You give that to politics, they got carte blanche to lord it up over people, which is like a dream come true for an ego that's out of control, if that's the case with some of these people, which obviously is. And also it gives them carte blanche to print free money, hand out contracts to the friends and all that stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? So they can have a whale of a time, but perhaps, I mean, this, like I say, it's quite clear, at least to me, because the IPCC claims support of people that have retracted the support, and the models don't include the medieval warming period, right? Then it makes it all look like boom. If you can manipulate the weapon, the weather, which you definitely can, then all bets are off with the weather stuff. So is that being used just to control us, or is it that? What about this possibility? Is it that big cycles and changes are common? We've been in a reasonably stable period, so a big change is on the way. They know about it. Like I say, can't really do much about it, so maybe they're going to sit back or not try to do anything, not warn people, and then hope they don't notice, like you say, and then hope that a new kind of Tartaria reset thing happens, you know, going back to that recent show, you know, so they can kind of start over and lord it up over, because they've still got some technology that's left over. Maybe they've hardened their own little power grid, or, you know what I'm saying? Makes you wonder. But I think it's mostly fear, though. I think it's mostly fear. I think we're entering into a golden age, energetic changes taking place, this, that, and the other, and we get to take control back, grassroots, and I think they're just trying to hijack it with fear. I still think that's the main thing.
Yeah, amen to that. There's, like I said, there is a lot here. If like you said, if governments of the world can actually control the weather, then what is this even about? Like you know, we've got proof right here. China, CNN, the most trusted source in news. I mean, you can't go wrong with them. Has said that,
of course,
right? An area 1.5 times the size of China, right here, right there in the news. And not only that, there's multiple reporting on it. I got multiple here. It's not just them.
What was What was the 2025? That was the year they gave. What was that? The US military. That was the year they gave to be able to control the weather by.
Yes.
2025.
That was the military plan from the Air Force. Yes.
And what was the other 2025? He says there was another one. There was another 2025 year.
That was also China.
You remember?
Also China.
Yeah, the Chinese one. Well, guess what else? There's another 2025 year that sticks to my mind when America's supposed to establish a moon base. Right?
I'm telling you, maybe this Agenda 2030 is a thing. Let's just leave it at that. That's for another show. But right? I mean, you don't want to open 10 cans of worms when there's already 10 other cans open. But I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
You can wipe a bit of poison off from the hydro before you start lopping heads off, innit?
Right? Yeah, for sure. Otherwise, we got a bigger problem here, right? Yeah, I don't know. So this, what is it, right? Like, what is the truth of this? And if they can control the weather now, well, then why are they complaining about the weather in terms of spending trillions of dollars, right? And again, like I said, I get it. Big oil, definitely a conspiracy, all right? Just like big pharma, a conspiracy, all right? But this one goes layers and layers and layers deep. So I don't know, man. I don't know. The way this works, I don't have any answers. More questions, more cans of worms opening all over the place. And we got to go. So like 1 minute, Rohan, your final thought, my friend.
Yeah, my final thought is it kind of, let's say, because there's so many layers, we said layers, and I think about that great reset, the World Economic Forum's circular map. If you click any area you click on the edges, it makes another circle underneath, and there's just layers and layers and layers, and it looks like a technocratic power grab on the infrastructure systems to me, by hook or by crook. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that's what they're doing. All big distractions, just can grab everything and Jedi mind trick everyone into just going along with it, and that's what it is. But free will, can't beat that shit. Sorry. You're good. Yeah. Well, you can't, can you? And that's what this is all about. It's getting together and talking about this stuff and what's really going on in the world where we live. Rohan, you're the best. He's got a podcast out. Follow him. His name is Liam Martin. Scroll down. You can find him on Rockfin and on YouTube. Link in the description. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. Cheers. Thanks very much, Mike. Take care. Pleasure's ours, my friend. All right. So as we finish this and we're done, right? You guys know the drill. We're going to keep talking about this. We're going to keep punching back, considering what may be the conspiracy and what may not. That's what this is all about. And if you're listening to us on Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. Well, we're going to keep taking your phone calls and keep talking about this. Is this some sinister 2030 type agenda? What is going on with the weather control and the weather manipulation and the media surrounding it? Still talking about it, still thinking about it. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it so much. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. So we are off the fringe, and we got Jennifer on the line. Jennifer, hang tight. We're going to get right with you. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and more Troubled Minds on the way. The question is this tonight: how much of this climate catastrophe is a conspiracy, and how deep does this cabal go? Like I said, big oil is the obvious one, but what about the rest? Is there a deeper agenda? It seems that the deeper you dig on this one, the more answers you don't get. So, loving to hear your thoughts. Again, stay tuned. Jennifer's on the line. We'll be right with her. And also looking to hear from you. 702-957-1037. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds in just a minute or two. And Jennifer, hang tight. Be right there. I'll make this fast. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and tonight we're talking about climate change. And of course, not just the simple, the
the version for the faint of heart. We're talking about like the deep, dark climate change, including, meaning all of this stuff, which is the alarmism and our governments actually manipulating us to the point where they can manipulate the weather. And so they cause some extra terrible things happening. And then they're able to point and say, look, the hurricanes are deeper, stronger, bigger, badder, uglier. And well, maybe they're manipulating the other side of that as well. I don't know. What kind of thoughts do you have on this? How deep does this conspiracy go? And love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Jennifer, welcome to the show. Thank you for being patient. How are you tonight?
Good. How are you, Mike?
Doing okay. Okay. Not sure what to think about this. I'm hoping you can help me out.
It's weird that you're bringing this up, because when you think about it, this is kind of encompassing everything else. It's really bizarre, because when you think about how they're taking the idea of saving the environment, and that's the motto, basically, what they're running with, save the environment. They've been saying that for decades now, century, really, I guess, almost. And under the guise of that, it's like the One Ring or something, because they're taking control of all the resources of the planet, across any land, into any government, across all demographics. It's like that is the one thing that they needed, just this motto of saving the environment, to take 100% control of absolutely everything. It's brilliant. But because all of it is under the idea of doing the right thing, and we'll all get behind it because it's the right thing to do to save the planet. But along with it, they're creating fake artificial forests, which is really strange, I guess, where they're, using that to make the most out of photosynthesis that mimics photosynthesis, however you say it, to get the most chemical, like a chemical fuel, basically. And they're doing, everything that they're working on is essentially just to gain control. You have the cloud seeding, where they can make it rain, wherever they need to. I heard they were doing that in the Middle East during a drought, but they didn't do it over the wildfires in Canada or California. So they're picking and choosing what they're going to do, literally playing God. So it's really strange. We know that they can do cloud seeding because you can look it up. It's not a conspiracy at all, like you were saying earlier about the chemtrails. So that's really bizarre. And it's basically just under this whole idea, though, is deciding where people will live, what they can buy, what they can use, how they can use the land that used to be usable by everyone, all under this whole idea of doing what's right for the environment, how water can be used, controlling water, controlling land, and taking it out of the hands of the people and putting it into the hands of basically just a one ruling environmental sculpted government under the guise of that. But they have also, too, these companies that are putting out this new greener, zero carbon emissions. All these companies coming out, like they have a company that's designed to create zero carbon planes, and for for air traffic. And they have these planes they're building. They cost billions of dollars, and they've already created, I think, like 3 or 4, and people are investing in this. And it's all going to go into the stock market. This is all to encourage. It seems that way to me anyway, that they're just doing this, getting on the ground floor, so they can reinvest in themselves and trade it on the stock market for money as well. The same people who created the Industrial Revolution are now creating climate-conscious geoengineering and so on and so forth. And, if everything is genetically modified or changed, they own it all too, due to the Monsanto. We all know about the Monsanto thing that was going on. So it's just really confusing, especially when, they control the food and the agriculture. You have Bill Gates buying up all that land in Arkansas. So I think it is nefarious. I think that we should expect no less.
Yeah, and I think that the easy tack is to just say, well, we got to do something, right? We can't just destroy the planet, which is fine. I agree. Like I said, you would expect, right? The conspiracy theorist is not the guy recycling. No, I'm doing the things everybody recommends you're supposed to do. I live in Las Vegas, for crying out loud. They barely recycle in this state. Like, I'm pretty sure they just take the stuff I put in the recycling bin and then drop it in the landfill. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going on out here, right? But I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm putting it in the bin. You know what I mean? It's insane. The whole thing is upside down.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not like it wasn't anybody's idea to create plastics, petroleum and all that. It was the idea of the industrialists to create all these things and to create the industry itself. Before that, people were just kind of doing this thing that they were doing, and they didn't know any different and had no intentions of growing into this. So, and now what they have, they could just they could change a lot of things and encourage local food and things like that. But that's not even what they're doing, because even local farmers, because of the GMO seeds and everything, there's no way that they can actually even thrive or compete with the prices of, so it's not like they actually do want those things. It doesn't seem like they actually want that. It seems like they're just trying to gain an overreach into, that's what it does look like. Because if they were concerned about those things, they would change, they would change other things besides what they're changing, and they'd be concerned about other things besides what they seem to be concerned about. That's what it looks like. Like, they wouldn't just be interested in the oil, about cars. It's like, well, you could, for a long time, we've known that they could do other sources of fuel for cars. You could do local transportation and everything. They actually don't seem to be that interested in that. Because if you look at a local level and people's own towns and communities, there's no emphasis on that at all. They're going to a very big scope. You have an artificial sun being built, I think, in Japan. I can't remember where it was. But they're doing all these really big scope things that I don't think actually affect the weather whatsoever. I mean, if they create the zero-emission planes or get the cows to, change people from eating meat to eating bug burgers, I don't know that would make as big an impact as having local farmers farming to their local people. So I don't know why they don't encourage those kinds of things. They try to snuff out small farmers, and they try to snuff out small local mom and pop stores. They want to industrialize it into big corporate hands. They don't encourage these smaller footprints. They want huge imprints, like huge footprints, rather.
Yeah, you're totally right. Think of it in terms of this. Like, if you were like a local organic farmer, and let's say I was, and they said, hey, you guys are going to pay no taxes for 10 years. What do you think would happen to local organic farmers?
They would bloom.
Yes.
Absolutely.
They'd be everywhere.
Yeah, people would be.
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, they're doing the opposite of that, though. In the old city I lived in, there was, you couldn't use the front yard of your yard as a garden space. You couldn't plant, like, vegetable garden there. It could only be lawn. So they're controlling things like that. And then that's strange. I mean, if they were so concerned about people, shortening, plant to plate or whatever it's called, from farm to plate, that kind of footprint, or, deciding what people should wear, they wouldn't be marketing, the things that they do encourage. So it doesn't make any sense. It seems like it's a huge double standard. And as far as the flying goes, I would encourage, why don't they just put the train back? Why don't you just put the train back where people can travel by train? That'd be cool. I'm sure lots of people probably love to do that, travel by train. There's no availability for that. So it's not really encouraged, So I think that it doesn't seem like their goals are actually to save the environment. It's to gain complete control of all the resources on the planet, and that they control where the money and where the profits are, and that they can see and maybe even control the people, like how many people you can go into that. Because obviously, if you're saying that humans are bad for the environment, then maybe it'd be probable to suggest to limit how many humans. You could go into that, and that it's more of a social responsibility. So you could go into that, where they may encourage that one day, and they have discussed that. It's crazy, but they have discussed it, that the human impact, and maybe they should consider limiting that even. People take social responsibility upon themselves, to not, bring more people into the world or take themselves out of the world even, So I don't know. I think they're reaching too far. I think it is strange, and it's a strange way to approach it. And they're approaching it in one of the cleverest ways possible, because It's an arena where people can feel very satisfied with themselves and feel like they're doing the right thing. And it's hard to argue with, but it's good for the environment. It's the right thing to do for the environment. It's really hard to argue with that.
Agreed. So what we're talking about here is both sides are a conspiracy. Big oil and the climate cabal is what we're saying. It's all, you can't win, can you? What the hell?
I guess not.
It's unfortunate.
Of course they're up to something. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So fantastic stuff as always. What else you got?
Just that you can't expect that eventually. I mean, it's been said that once you've reached a place where you have so much money, which these people, these corporations do have so much money, the only thing left is power and control. And so it shouldn't be surprising. It's natural human inclination, kind of like, to gain as much control as you can. To eventually, maybe there's some kind of, it sounds like it's psychopathic, but I don't know. It's not out of the realm of surprise if they think that they're doing the right thing. Bill Gates wrote a book about climate change. I mean, all these people are very concerned about it, but everything they're doing, actually isn't good for people at all in a lot of ways, not always. And it's really just about thinking that they know what's best for everyone. And there's no room for an individual. It's all a team. But that leads to something else. That leads to having to make sacrifices about, just about, I guess, about every single arena of what you will wear, what you will eat, where you will live, if you'll have children, if you'll move here or live there or drive this, or how far or how long you'll drive, or, when you'll work, what kind of work you'll do. It comes how much money you'll have, because that's part of climate change as well. The use of resources, and how those are distributed, controlling that. You're having too little, you're having too much. So, I mean, yeah, that's 100% control of every single aspect of an existence, and then the planet as well. So all under the guise of doing the right thing. And I mean, people will do the right thing for animals and for the environment because
there you go.
It can't help itself. There's some kind of need to do so. But yeah, it is crazy. But
like talking about it in those terms, it makes us seem like assholes, right? Like that's the whole point. It's like, wait a minute though. Like exactly. You guys are just selfish people, and that's what it's all about. It's like, wait, what? Like think.
It's by design.
Yeah.
That's by design.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And therein lies the conspiracy. That's what I was really getting at. This whole thing is a sham, and it irritates me because, like I said, no matter which angle you chase down, there's a conspiracy behind it, and that's not even talking about HARP and all this other stuff, right? It's unreal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could approach this whole thing about what's good for the environment in a totally different way that has no, where it's not infringing upon personal human rights, it's not infringing upon. There's ways to do that, and they're not looking at that. They're looking at like huge things, like whether or not to fly, creating new planes that are zero carbon emission. It's like, wait a minute, like why don't you just, I don't know, people fly less or I don't know. I'm not sure because I haven't looked too much into this. But you don't have to look very far to kind of see where it could go when you talk about distribution of resources. How agriculture is used, who can have this, who can have that, and start to put it into human perspective of how is that going to affect the lives of humanity. And it doesn't sound great. At first you're like, okay, yeah, I'll give that up. And okay, yeah, this kind of like what Rohan was saying. It's like, yeah, eventually it's just got some sugar and, this and that, because they could solve a lot of things wrong in the world and they don't do that. So they pick and choose. They cherry pick what they want to improve. And nothing seems to be getting any better anyway.
Exactly right. You were the best, Jennifer. By the way, if you like Jennifer here, follow her YouTube channel. Scroll down. Link in the description, both on Rockfin and on YouTube. And also, by the way, Jennifer here is going to be on the show tomorrow on Troubled Minds as a co-host. Tomorrow.
It'll be fun.
Tomorrow. Going to be fun. So looking forward to it.
It's going to be dark.
We'll yeah, it's going to be a little dark.
And fun.
A little dark and a little fun. So look forward to Jennifer tomorrow. Please follow her on YouTube. You can find the links in the description box. Thank you so much for the call, Jennifer. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Mike. Have a good night. Bye.
Thanks. You too. You too. There you go. All right. So Jennifer will be on the show tomorrow night, and we got an interesting thing picked out to talk about. So there we go. So we're talking about climate change, climate alarmism. We're talking about weather control. We're talking about what all of that means. 702-957-1037. Let's go to Vicky. Vicky, how you doing? How you feeling? Welcome to the show.
Doing well. Thank you, Michael.
Right on.
Yeah, I wanted to... We were talking about this weather manipulation. When my brother was in the Army, when the wall was coming down over in Germany, he was there, and the military was actually using HARP, it's called, and that was controlling the weather there. The U.S. government was. Unfortunately, because he had to deal with all that, he ended up getting a cancer that killed him.
No kidding.
But he made sure to tell us about it before he died.
That is horrific. And so
Yeah.
he actually said they were controlling the weather with HARP? Is that what he said?
Yes. Yes.
And so
he ended up getting really bad cancer
because
with
of
him doing that.
Because
you know?
the way that the way that conspiracy goes is a little like this, and then I'll let you go. You can just talk, but is because there's a high frequency energy wave that was actually controlling the weather, and so that of course is hitting him inside of his body by working around it. But go right ahead. You know way more about this than I do.
Yes, but that's what was happening, and he was having to do that, to use that machine when he was over in Germany.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
That's what ended up getting him sick and him dying. Yep. But I wanted to, and that was since the wall came down in Germany. I don't remember what the year was.
I think that was like 1989, 1988. Actually, Reagan was president 1987. Pretty sure. 87.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah.
Because I know he was sent over to Germany. See, I graduated in 86, and that summer I went to the Army, and he did too, and so right after he went into the Army, after he finished his basic, he went for his AIT, and then they sent him over to Germany. So that would have been about right.
Wow. Sorry for your loss there. That is horrific. Sibling is the absolute worst to lose. So what do you think then the actual conspiracy here is? So if the governments can control the weather and they're saying, well, climate change, well, does that mean they're changing it to manipulate the data and the statistics to use it against us?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I guarantee you.
Okay. And that there is the deepest.
They're not doing it to make us everything all hunky dory. No. They're doing it to control us. I guarantee that.
Okay. And there is your darkest conspiracy. Like, if this is all about control, then we are living in the middle of this, and it's horrific. Thank you so much for sharing. Are you feeling better? You feeling better, Vicky? Vicky was in the hospital not too long ago?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm getting some energy back now.
Good. You sound good. You sounded tired.
That's saying a lot.
Weeks back. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Keep punching. Keep at it. Keep moving the legs. Keep the brain working. Do all the things, as they say, right? The old school physics. If a body in motion tends to stay in motion.
Yes.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
I just wanted to point that out for you, Michael.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the phone call. Look forward to speaking with you again.
Yep, thank you. Have a good day, hon.
Thanks, Vicky. You too. Great stuff as always. Yeah, there you go. Good stuff. I'm glad Vicky's feeling better, and there you go. She says her brother worked on the HARP program and unfortunately, as a result of it, got cancer. And look at this. So again, HARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, HAARP. And there it is. You got all the links are down below. I knew we might get to HARP sometime tonight talking about weather and weather modification and geoengineering and the rest of this stuff. HARP seems to come up from time to time. But is this the insidious future that's laying out before us? And you can't even say, wait, guys, hold on. Because you're called a denier, right? You're called a terrorist. You're called a dirty conspiracy theorist because you don't want to help the environment. You got to vote for this guy or that gal, this group, that group. That's how you do this, right? And notice, there aren't a lot of choices, at least for the solutions we're presented. And I think that in and of itself makes me suspicious. Definitely makes me suspicious. Fantastic calls tonight. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Jennifer, for kicking off the third hour here. And we're still talking to you. So if you want to be part of this, I said, Austin in the chat, I asked if you're ready. I see you there in the chat. I don't know if you're ready. Let me know. Type in the chat pretty please if you're ready, and we'll put you on the show. Yes, definitely. Thank you for sharing, Vicky. So I don't know. That's what's on my mind tonight. It's this whole climate stuff, okay? And it starts like this. It starts exactly like this. Like we began the show tonight, right here with this article from The Hill. Canadian woman becomes first person diagnosed as suffering from climate change, right? And in this very same article, they cite 500 dead people from climate change in this very same article in Canada just this year, right? There you go. Although, what you don't see is Merritt, the patient, is in her 70s, was diagnosed in the summer shortly after a heat wave. And of course, she has diabetes. She has some heart failure. And like I said, that's, in your 70s, those things are not abnormal. However, an actual diagnosis of climate change as what you're suffering from, well, doesn't that seem like it's a little bit dishonest? It's unfortunate. Okay, cool. I didn't catch you saying that. My bad, Austin. Thanks for being patient with us. Thanks for waiting. I didn't see you answer, so I wasn't sure. Because sometimes you just pop in the chat and you're kind of like AFK or something. But Austin, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you tonight?
Better than most, worse than some. Let me turn off the show in the background.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so what are your thoughts on this? Are you suffering from climate change, my friend?
Well, I mean, I haven't gotten tested yet, so I'll never know.
I knew you'd slam dunk. That was an easy one. I just popped that up to you like a volleyball, and you spiked that sucker down. Yeah, I mean, okay, you haven't been tested, so probably not. Let's say, but what? So what do you think the agenda? What do you think the agenda here is regarding climate? So okay, a couple questions for you. First off, do you think the governments can actually control the weather? And then two, if so, whether yes or no, what do you think the overall agenda for this climate cabal actually is?
Yes, and I think a lot of high chairmen have already gave the answer, and I'm going to go with them just telling us blatantly why they want it, and that is for weather wars. That's a thing that you'll probably see over 1,000 articles about if you put it in DuckDuckGo or Google or whatever. Weather wars, big subject.
Weather wars. All right. So can you explain what that means in a nutshell? Weather wars.
Using weather to attack other countries.
Because if you could do that and you could just drop a hurricane or whatever, or right? You like imagine in the middle of a battle, you just drop something on the bad guys before it even starts. Yeah, right. Whoever can control that the best. Go ahead.
And then if you say that they did it, you're a conspiracy theorist. It's great.
Yeah, because you can deny it. You can say, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah. Like nobody can control that. You guys are nuts. Hey, it's bad luck. Yeah, God was on our side, right?
So it's like a race for who has the better weather control equipment, and I think there's been scenarios There's some guy that I watched that he would like point out things in the weather last 5 or so years and be like, oh look, we just like countered a hurricane right there, you know, we just sent it back or whatever, and oh look, a giant earth like climate crisis here, and then oh, North Korea just got hit with major earthquakes. Like what?
Yeah. So how about earthquake? Okay, so regarding earthquakes, do you think that's happening too? You think this high frequency thing, so they're actually able to create earthquakes as well?
I think the earthquake, well, that's behind what how a hurricane happens, is there's an earthquake and then the hurricane, like an underwater earthquake.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, so weather wars are a thing, and they're using it against us to do exactly what? So against another army, sure. What about against us? What do you think about this young lady that was actually, she's not, but that was actually diagnosed with the suffering from climate change? Do you think we're going to see more of this in the short-term future here?
Oh yeah, definitely. It seems so like the potential for it that I'm looking as me as like an evil leader of the world. Like I love it. Keep going, you know. Like we're gonna see some kind of new test now that no one's ever heard of. That's gonna be so well proven, you know, by the scientists, the experts, and you're just gonna have to trust us, and we'll make everything great. We'll tax carbon to make everything more green because of the Green Party, you know, that's a thing now. Yay. Climate lockdowns, that's exciting. It's already happened in some areas to some degrees. Like, heard from a buddy in New York talking about banning gas-powered, like, lawnmowers or whatever. Like, I think it's really subtle like that. It's already started in many different ways, and they've even banned people from driving cars in Russia before, and that's part of how it's going to happen. You can't drive after 5 o'clock unless you're essential or some crap like that. I guarantee it. Because everything that's initially started with the lockdowns was pretty much pointing the finger right at that. Like, it's just prepping you up. You know, oh, look, carbon emissions are low because everyone's wearing masks now. We could see a huge improvement in this.
Yeah, they did. You're right. They tangled the two together, didn't they? They're like, well, since nobody's driving, we have a net gain or whatever the hell they're talking about, right? But again, what does that mean? Like we're whittling this all down to essential and non-essential people, and like, you know, the conspiracy is not that the war is against the carbon and the methane, the cow farts, and the emissions from fossil fuels. It's the carbon coming out of our mouth, which, you know, oxygen goes in, carbon dioxide comes out, and we are the problem, aren't we? Too many of us.
Yes, you, not me.
Right, of course, me. I'm the target here, but you get it, right? Like, again, think about all the talking I do on this microphone. Do you think I actually expel more CO2 than anybody else?
Oh yeah, need to hire carbon tax on radio show hosts. Good idea. I would have never thought of that.
Yeah, see, so it's me. It's my fault, right? It's throw me in.
Just forget the idea.
Yes. All right. So okay. So you think this is exactly it, right? This is all exactly what's going on. Is we're trimming down who is essential and who is not, and it's going to be based on not wearing your mask, but it's going to be based on how much carbon you emit. Think about it. They're talking about you can't eat burgers because the cows fart, right? A lot of cows, a lot of methane farts means you're ruining the environment. Well, what does that mean for you and me, right? Like, again, especially for me, I talk a lot, right? Because I do a damn talk show for crying out loud. I do a damn talk show, right? But right, so me personally, does that make me a gross polluter of carbon?
Oh, definitely, the worst.
The worst of the worst, right? Not only am I a dirty conspiracy theorist by name, I'm also one of the worst carbon polluters as an individual, per capita, pound for pound, pound for pound heavyweight champion of the worst carbon polluters in the whole world. But this is the problem.
I got it wrong.
What's that?
I said I don't have a bomb.
Okay, all right. Neither do I.
But no, it's like hyperbole. So in a way I do. But did you hear about them putting like these sacks on cows so when they fart through this weird like synthetic sack that they like sewed onto them so it lowers the carbon? Did you hear about that? That's real.
Not only that, there's all kinds of weirdness where they're teaching the cows to like use like a bathroom, so they herd the cows in to pee in this particular area, right? All right, literally, if that's going to save the world, I'm all for it. Let's potty train all the cows. Let's do it. I'm ready. I'll even help. That sounds like fun. That totally sounds like fun. Anyway, all right. So you do think that there's some weather shenanigans going on. So what about, the most basic thing says, if the green cabal says, well, the conspiracy is big oil. All right. And I don't think many of us would argue with that. The petrodollar, just the way the world is structured, clearly that's like a huge conspiracy, right? But then I think you take it to other levels in other areas here, and assuming some of these other things are true, like weather manipulation, which we see right here from China. If you guys check this out right here, just look at the damn article. Look at my links down below. Look at this stuff. Like, it's true. This stuff is happening. So if that's the case, for instance, let's say that here in Vegas, we've got the Hoover Dam, right? Lake Mead. And they keep saying, right, I saw this kid on a commercial today saying, oh, this isn't kid stuff. He's all knocking on I'm on TV, sweet. So he's like knocking on the TV like, clang, 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 clang. This isn't kid stuff, guys. You need to be paying attention to this. Look at Lake Mead behind me. It's at the lowest levels ever. And you have to water once a day and on and on and on and on, right? And like I said, in this valley, it's something ridiculous. Let's say I'm going to lower it. It's like 30% of the water is used by 50 people in this whole valley, something like that, right? So it's like, wait, those MFers are the people with the money. So nobody wants them to stop. They want you to stop. And again, this is a desert. I'm not trying to have a like lush green lawn in the desert, right? I'm not stupid. First off, it's going to be a pain in the ass to take care of and take a ton of water to keep it green. Why are you going to do that? Right? It makes no sense. But look at these rich guys. Look at the golf courses. Look at all the things, right? Come on, man. Yeah. Right?
Even if you're rich, you're probably not going to be rich enough to join the club.
Yeah, right. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rules for thee, not for me.
Exactly right. And I think that's part of the problem. Like Jennifer was saying, I think that this is not the way to go about this. Like they control economic prosperity, and you can tie the two together. Again, make organic farming on a local level tax-free. It would blossom. It's unbelievable.
Crazy.
How it's all back.
They get all these. Down. I was talking to a couple people that have like these areas where they have restrictions on what they can grow, because they have like endangered bugs or endangered like species or whatever that like threaten them by growing. I don't know how like legitimate any of that is, but I mean, I don't really know much about that personally.
Well, I don't know much about anything, to be perfectly honest.
I don't know how like legitimate any of that is, but
what's up, Jake? Mute up. I pulled you.
Sorry.
Listen, you're good, man.
Did I do it right?
Thing.
You did it right.
It's
now.
so addicting. You just can't shut it off.
You're good.
2-minute delay.
Oh, that's okay. All right, so we got Jane here. So Austin, what are your final thoughts on this? What do you think is really going on? Where's the real conspiracy here? If you got to pin it down to one thing, what is the conspiracy happening with all the climate change and the climate alarmism and all the stuff that's in front of our face? Where is the actual conspiracy? If you got to pin it down to one thing.
I think it's tied with putting us into VR and making us socially retarded.
Okay. What? And then what?
And then like Star Wars.
Okay. Elaborate.
Elaborate. Clone Wars. Imagine.
Okay. All right. I'm with you.
They're gonna get bored. They're the big things, right? They're so spoiled, right? They don't even listen to our show. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, they have all this money and they don't even listen to our show.
Okay. All right. I lost your train of thought, but that's completely okay. Completely okay. Austin, you're the best. Hey, Austin has a YouTube channel. It's called Short Quick. And once he's comfortable with sharing the link, we'll share the link. Link will be in the description below. Give our boy some love. Austin, you're the best, my friend. Thank you for sharing your ideas.
Yeah, I just put out a new video.
Nice.
Cooking.
Okay.
4 minutes.
Am I okay to share it? Am I okay to share it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so I'll drop it in the link here, and you guys can check it out in the chat. You're the best. Austin has got a YouTube video named Short Quick. Give him some love. He will be added to the link tree. Thanks, my friend.
War between light and darkness. Same old song and dance.
Same old song and dance.
Really.
Amen.
That was the main thing I was getting to. I was just dancing around too much about it.
Gotcha.
And then I just tried to plug your show.
That's okay. I got you. You don't have to do that. I got you. Just let me know you have a show and I got you. All right. So let's go to you're welcome to stay, Austin. Just make sure you mute up and until you're going to jump back in. Appreciate that. And let's go to Jay. Let's go to our good friend Jay in New York. What's up, my brother? How are you tonight?
I'm fantastic, Mike. Well, you guys crush it every day, really. The whole climate change. I mean, I've seen like where they fly the planes in like a formation. It's bitterly cold. And it's like, oh, let's get some cloud cover up here so we can retain some heat. I mean, you can almost see that as a simple man, It's like, wow. Or either they're trying to hide something, There's supposed to be a great thing going on in the stars. And in upstate New York, no matter what, it's always cloudy. Today on the way home from karate, the kids could see the stars in the mountains of upstate New York because cold and crystal clear. And they wanted to stay outside with their coats on and run around and stuff like that and look at the moon and everything like that. The brilliance of kids, Jennifer's whole thought there of the local farms and everything else like that. And I'm biased, as from the after hours and all that. But she's right. You have to start thinking about what's important to you and right around you and everything else like that, because all the people that are really trying to do their thing about what we should do could care less about us. There's 97 planes parked on the tarmac. They can't even put them in the hangars through climate change.
Yeah, that's funny. Or Leo DiCaprio, who jet sets around the country and the world with a new 22-year-old girlfriend every week.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, boozing it up, hanging out in bars, spending $100,000.
Yeah, can you imagine what Leo DiCaprio's carbon footprint for his entire life has been? Could
you imagine what the people that call into this show could get a bus ticket to Podunky somewhere to stare at the stars and talk for 3 days? What we could do.
Yeah, well, again, that's
okay. 3 days, I'll take I don't know, $1,000. That sound cool to you?
Just saying, right? Like, it's once again, right? Like, I get it. Billy says, Billy in the chat says it has to be this way. Like, meaning they have to tell us what we can and can't have. They has to, again, right? The issue is, it's always a dual rule system, right? And they're going to continue actually adding those to those facts, meaning that it's going to start out with like the richest and the poorest, right? But then they're going to be like, okay, if you're kind of rich, you can kind of do these things, right? And it's going to be this sliding scale of, well, basically the poorest people get jack shit because they're told they get jack shit. And to break out of that system, to break out of that poverty level, again, the tax structure now is ridiculous for if you're poor and you get taxed, like, fuck off, man. Like, I work way too hard for you to destroy me in taxes every year. Come on, like, you don't even give me a chance. Like, it's unbelievable. Don't get me started. You know the deal. Taxes and healthcare. But
you're preaching to the choir here. Yeah. I live in upstate New York. I mean, we're getting my workman's comp went up 33% of the gross. It's crazy. It's absolutely. I told the guy, that's nuts. I'm not paying you anymore.
Yeah,
you have to have it or you can't get contracts. I'll do a sole proprietorship and I'll do it by myself. They don't cover you. If you pay workman's comp insurance, they don't cover the person that's paying it.
That's mad.
You only cover the employees.
So then you gotta buy your own thing outside of it, separate.
$33 a day. I got a hole burnt in my foot at a chemical thing in a yogurt factory. I mean, it built about had a $half size acid burn in my ankle, and I got $33 a day was my compensation for the. I had to go into the hospital and have them scrape my leg every 2 days and pull the stuff off, and some ointment that cost like $390 a time to shoot on it. It was like my contract was $350 a day. My workman's comp severance out of it is I'm paying you 33% of my I'm sorry, I'm talking about taxes, Mike. Let's go back to the subject.
Let's pop some baby aspirin and make sure we don't end up with a cold.
Well, I'm calm about it. I processed that feeling and moved on, Mike. I lost my ass, you know.
Gotcha. Yeah, same here. It's again, it seems punitive. It seems like the entire Axel said this before. He's like, when you start talking like that, Mike, you start talking about modern tax theory, I guess is what he said, is that the whole point is it's supposed to be a trap. You're supposed to have to work 30 times as hard to break out of that cycle till you become rich enough to just dodge the taxes. And there you go.
If you got crypto, sell now. I'm not a financial advisor, by the way.
Start a religion and don't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, right. That
was a joke. That was a big. Actually, this is unbelievably funny for the bit of the after hours chat coming into, so people join the Discord and join us later on. Is that farm right down the street from that? When I was working there, building and everything else like that, there was a church that sat vacant forever and ever, and I was running a bar at the time. And the guy that owned the bar said, we should buy that church and call it Our Lady of Sorrows and put a bar in there, and you're going to be the reverend. We're going to all buy it together. You know, there's like 3-4 of us, so we were all going to buy it together, and Jay was going to be the reverend of the Our Lady of Sorrows.
Nice. And so, of course, you have to take communion every hour in the form of a cold pint.
Actually, the thing was the communion was Jameson's Irish whiskey, because there was a great battle there where the Pinkertons from the city were building the railroad tracks up to upstate New York, and the Irish and Polish were building the tracks from the mountainside down. And when they got to the tunnel, there was a pretty big to-do. People died, and shillelaghs and pickaxes and all. There's a movie made about it.
Sounds less good.
That's where the farm is, though.
Oh,
just to make sure I don't move too far away from the paranormal stuff.
Nice. Gotcha. Okay. So, all right. So what do you think if we're talking about weather and climate and all the rest of this, if you got to pin it down to one thing, what's the conspiracy? Like I said, big oil, obviously, right? Do you think it goes beyond that, or do you think you can probably just write it off as that big oil runs the world and that's that? Or do you think it's worse than that?
I would have to say, come on, man. It's all of them. I mean, the tech industry, the batteries, the cordless tools, all of it. I mean, even if you go back to when they were like making boots and leather and everything else like that, and they were just dumping all the crap into the rivers. You know, they were the guys with the big money. They didn't care. Screw you. 9 times, 10, 12 times down the river, you're screwing over another town because of the pesticides or I don't know, whatever you're throwing into the farms in New York shut down because they were so reliant on the pesticides because they were over farming their land instead of rotating crops and all that, you know, they polluted the rivers and, you know, oh, it's a really big problem. Well, yeah, it was, but a simple solution was go back to the old-fashioned way. You know, I don't know. I'm biased. I really am. I have to say that I'm biased.
Well, you're allowed. You're allowed to have an opinion, aren't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, the organic farm that I talk about from time to time, I mean, they had a thing with Cornell University. We used to come down and they would do experiments and stuff like on how different water or additives or, you know, this, that, or the other thing, control group sections of small farmland. It was a CSA, you know. And then they were also passing that stuff to people that were eating it and paying good money to get it. You know, it's the joke, you know. It's like all the elites are buying all the bunkers and building these things up in the mountains and stuff like that, you know, paying tons and tons of money to do it. Who's winning there? Okay, so you get this place to go and you got, you know, 36 people that know where it is. When the world poos, well, we all know you're there. You're going to run out of food in 90 days. We'll wait. You know, it's just the nutty thoughts of all of what's going on with all that, you know, the conspiracies that go on with all that, Mike.
Yeah, it's deep, isn't it? It's deep.
Well, the Boy Scout camp, the video, the tapes that I sent to you, and everything else like that. That's that place in West Virginia. The coal cars went down, concrete trucks came back. They dumped it all into a Boy Scout camp. And if you could imagine an 8-hour whitewater rafting trip down a pretty fast-moving river with coal cars the whole way down, just ripping it out of the mountain. You know?
Wow. Okay. All right.
It's a long. That's a long set of pictures, right? You looked at it. You know, that's that entire time, all along the ridge of that river. Our coal cars just going down.
Let's wrangle you back. That's actually not the disc you sent me, so I've never seen the pictures you're talking about. It was something different. But anyway, so okay, let's get back to this. So what exactly? Like you think that we can solve this with actual like organic, right? Like being you know, local and that sort of thing, right? Like you say that you buy gas from the same dude because you want to keep your money local. And there you go, right? There's one example of how this type of thing gets fixed, right?
Right. You're not adding into the hundreds and hundreds of steps. You know, when you go up to the sawmill and you buy the wood, the dude went up there with the chainsaw, cut it down, threw it on this thing, cut it up into lumber. You built something out of it. There's not all that gas from it coming from South Dakota or BC or wherever, you know. You can, local things are better for you, like local honey. You know, the thing was with the bees and all that, those are pollinators. They are recepting what's in the air and all that around you. So if there's diseases and stuff like that, when they make their honey, they're making it to be resilient for themselves. So that also equals it's really good for you. But it's the local stuff that's better. You know, same way with the garlic. It takes all the toxins in from the air that are bad from you, turns it into something good. It's all about the diet.
All about the diet. Well,
I agree there. You are what you eat and drink.
And drink. And there you go. And I am a warm shower and a cold beer. And I'm okay with that.
Some chicken wings and a cold piece of pizza.
Some chicken wings.
Maybe a Pop-Tart out the door. Sausage biscuit when you get hungry.
Anyway, we digress. So okay, back to the weather thing. How does it all relate? How does it all relate? So it seems like, and this is my whole point, right, tonight. It was not about intentionally saying that, you know, this or that was the conspiracy itself. It seems like with this particular thing, the weather, the climate, this whole bit, we have multiple layers of conspiracy, right, from all sorts of different angles. It's very much like, if you look at it in terms of, like we say, politics and the binary choices they give you, right? None of the choices are good. It's all shit. And they're making you choose between shit or less shit, right? And that's exactly the same thing that's going on here. It seems like, it's like, wait a minute, there are tons of options we can actually really enact and start to change the world in small ways. But they don't want that. They want that full spectrum control, and you do it through gaslighting. You do it through surveillance. You do it through all that crazy shit we always talk about on this show. And unfortunately, like Billy's saying, that's what it is. Here's where we're at. Like Billy in the chat saying, like, there needs to be structure to the world, and I understand. All right. However, to the point where it literally encroaches on our own autonomy, I get off there. I get off the train there. No, like we have to have that. Like if you literally want to just plug yourself into the hive mind and do whatever the fuck you're told forever, okay, fine. Like that's you. That's not me. If you think I'm that guy, why the hell do you think I have this show? Right? This is not popular. This is not like the algorithmically boosted. Like nobody like actually says, "Oh, Mike here's doing good work. Let's push him to the top of the search engine." No, of course not. Right? Because I'm talking about things that are against those large ideas, that hive mind. I give a damn about individuals. I give a damn about my own individuality. Right? And that's what this is about. It's not about any of those other things. And once the control becomes too large, well, I think they got a problem. And I think there are many people that do not understand where this is headed and where it's going yet. But once they cross too many lines too fast, they're going to have a huge problem on their hands. And who are they? Come on, Michael Strange, you got to be more specific. All right, big pharma, big oil, the government, right? Name them all the way down the line, all the way down the damn line, right? They all got a problem. The second you start to take everybody's autonomy away from them and you put them in, camps, let's say, we got a problem. We got a serious problem. And I ain't doing that. I am not doing that. And there we go. There's my rant. So I don't know. Well, we got a few minutes left here.
Oh, Mike.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rohan.
Can I jump back in a moment? Yeah. I've just been chilling in the background there. But
go right ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking, based on what Jane Austen was saying as well, I think we've established these rich folk have mathematically got enough money to a handful of them could single-handedly take care of all these things the same way we need to do. Right, and they're doing all this going to space stuff, getting you excited about that, while at the same time telling you to be all concerned about the climate, while they're going off and doing that. And you think, why aren't you, putting your resources into that then? You know what I mean? All these double standards, going for the immortality play, is a blank checkbook. Do you know what I mean? But I think, like Jay says, it's a really important point that when things are small infrastructure and local, it can't fail as easily. It can't fail as hard. And this, like, big pharma, big business, big government, all this big centralized infrastructure, if it fails, everything goes, doesn't it? It's like you ain't got a backup resource, backup redundancy situations, or if it's only small cities, small infrastructures all separate, you can afford for them to fall down here and there. It's almost like holographic then, you're okay. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's going to have to be the future, and it's going to have to come from us grassroots doing this, having these conversations and coming up with ideas to do it. And like I say, getting a bit more simple things, like Jay said, if you do stuff local, all the transport costs are cut out. When I used to work at MFI, they had a joinery. They used to sell flat pack furniture, but they had a joinery. They bought a joinery. The carcasses ended up costing £1 each to me, but they were still buying doors from China when they've got their own setup, because it was cheaper. You know what I'm saying? Been tricked into it.
Hey man,
you know what I'm saying?
Labor is always cheaper. Slave labor is always cheaper.
They opened up like 12 new coal mines in China right now for production of coal through the winter. we're talking about like shutting everything down for climate change. China is speaking their glories about opening up on the Southern China Morning Post or whatever that thing that pops up on the Facebook right now is. China's little propaganda going into the thing. I don't know if anyone else get that on Facebook, but
that's a great point, Jay. Because they're exempt from all this climate stuff, you know. Them China and India thing.
Yeah, they don't even have clean coal. They have no like anything. They just dump it right in the air.
Northeast Pennsylvania has one of the largest deposits of anthracite coal in the fucking world. Thank God we're off the air. I'm sorry.
Okay. You're okay.
I missed it, Mike. I tried to catch myself, but I blew it. In the world, and it's right there. It's laying on the ground. Like you take the kids backpacking and hiking down there. You're not mining into the ground with the thing where you're thinking the guy in the coal mask and the canary and everything else like that. You're just picking it up off the ground, and it's anthracite. It's everywhere. Like, if the world absolutely pooed the bed tomorrow, I could take my kids up to the train tracks and we could collect anthracite coal for generations. It's everywhere. The natural gas here comes right out of the ground. You can see it in the wintertime because it's warmer, because it's coming out of the ground. You just see these little natural gas just going right off into the air. Binghamton used to have, they were very reluctant to get electric light in Binghamton because natural gas was basically free. People had gas mines in their basements because it was coming out of the ground there anyway. That's why they built their house there. People built their houses on springs, you know? There's a natural spring coming through the house. It's water and it's energy. They had dynamos in the basement. It's crazy what those people... It's not even that long ago. I mean, some of these houses you're talking about like 1890 that are built. So, I mean, those guys were that smart back then to do something with nothing but 100% local.
Yeah.
The farms.
The farms, always the farms.
Rattling.
That's cool. Let's go. Final thoughts, guys. Austin, let's go back to you. Final thought here, and then we'll go.
Yeah.
And then we'll finish with Jay.
Well, the slavery thing, slave labor. It's like they could just pay them a penny an hour, and then they could call them paid prisoners, and that would solve that problem.
That's what they're doing. Look up the Uyghur Muslims in China. That's what they're doing. I mean, you know.
Yeah, it's just crazy. That's the loopholes with words, you know, like it's not slavery if I pay them like a penny an hour or whatever, then they're paid prisoners.
Yeah.
And then that's a PR nightmare solved.
Yep. And then, you know, you give them a place to sleep, a warm place to sleep, and 3 squares a day. And, you know, they're living a good life. Just ask the government. They'll tell you about it.
Yep, that's all I wanted to say.
All right, Rohan.
Well, for me, my sort of final thought at the end of all of this discussion today is that don't forget, like, people are very inventive, like you just mentioned in there. People are really, really inventive, you know, and it seems to me that all through history, we've got examples of people thriving. Human beings thrive on problem solving and working together and building stuff. And if it's going to make life easier, it's a good motivator. You know, gives us a bit more credit. Do you know what I'm saying? We can do a lot of stuff, especially when we have to. You know, so if we get forced into positions where we've got to do stuff, we'll find skills and abilities that we never knew we had, and we'll just feel we're more equipped. Do you know what I mean? So either way, I think it'll be right.
And here we are. Either way, here we are. Still talking about it, still being a gross polluter with all these inconvenient words we speak. You know what I'm saying? so inconvenient. Quick shout out to.
I don't take many breaths though, so.
Yeah, I'll try and swallow more air and spit out less. How about that? That'll probably like center things up, right? That'll square me up with the the gods, the climate gods. What's up, Nowhere Gal on Rockfin? If you're still here, says a couple. I'm not sure if these are laughing like with us or at us, but let's see. Laughing and Church of Troubled Minds says Nowhere Gal, and then takes off. So I'm just curious what the answers are. I don't know if you're here like hearing it and like preach on, brother, to that type of thing, or you're like making fun. I kind of don't care because I'm going to say what I'm going to say anyway. But just anyway, just a shout out to some new folks that are here. Billy, welcome back. I haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for showing up. Great chat. Thanks Logan and Billy out there for being cool to each other. Even though we agree and disagree, right? That's part of this, is that they want us to not be able to discuss and agree and disagree and be okay with each other. So definitely good shit. Thank you to Rohan. Thank you to Austin. You guys are amazing. Thanks to all the amazing callers tonight. Don't forget, tomorrow night we've got Jen on the show. Jennifer, follow her channel down below. Links in the description. Also, Rohan, his name is Liam Martin. Follow his podcast down below. Links in the description. Short, quick. Austin also has a new YouTube channel. Follow him as well. Jay, let's do this. Let's get the hell out of here, brother. What's your final thought? And then your J-Tro, if you got one for us.
I do. I have too many final thoughts. This is a big one, like, run it. We know they're lying. We know they're lying. It's just like one of those things. It's like, I don't know. It's where we are now. I don't know. I would like to try my best to keep it on a positive note at the end, though. Just because we will. I mean, we'll do it. We'll make it, We'll help each other. People always do. I mean, you look at when there's hurricanes, when you're living in Virginia. Everybody empties out their freezers and stuff. The most beautiful things in life are not things. There are people and places and memories and pictures. There are feelings and moments and smiles and laughter.
I love it. Who's that by?
No idea. A picture of a guy walking on the beach with his little kid holding his hands up.
Perfect. Perfect. I like it. We'll call it, it must be Gandhi. Totally Gandhi said that. Jay.
Sure. Gandhi's awesome. I'll post it in the Discord so everyone can see the picture.
Appreciate it, bro. All right, so let's get the hell out of here. And this is the thing, right? Don't stop thinking, guys. Don't stop thinking. Don't stop thinking in terms of your autonomy. Your mind is important, right? You are important. Don't let anybody take that from you, okay? Because that's the fight. Like Austin said, this is the eternal fight between good and evil. And I'm telling you, a hive mind is a bad thing, because guess what? It means 51% can vote down 49% and make them useless eaters. Think about that. Think about that. Huge implications, and you're valued. And you should be. Don't give it up. It's worth fighting for. Peacefully. You got me? I hope so. We'll be back tomorrow night with Jennifer in Missouri. And again, follow all those channels, Jennifer, down below, and everybody else. You'll see links in the descriptions. Rohan, Austin, everybody that's been on the show tonight. Scroll down. You can see them. There we go. Let's get the hell out of here. Thanks, everybody. I'm out. We're out. What do I say? How's the end go?
Booyah.
Booyah. How else does the end go?
Be strong. No, I missed the beginning. Be strong, be true. Be sure. Be strong, be true. Thanks, Rohan.
Sure.
Be sure. Be strong. Be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Thanks, guys. I'll catch you in the after-air chat here, which usually goes on most nights. If you guys haven't joined the Discord, please do. troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Come say hi. Come introduce yourself. I know that we have a lot, like a mind-numbing amount of people out there listening that listen to us on the archives and everywhere else. Come join the Discord. Come say hi. There are most of the amazing people that call into this show, they're already in the Discord. Come say hi. All right, let's GTFO, fellas. Ow!
Ow!
Ow! There we go. we sound like a sorry pack of wet chihuahuas.
Wet chihuahuas, man. Still wet chihuahuas.
All right. All right. Adios. Killing the stream, guys. In 3, 2, 1. Stream is